Second. We have Councilmember Christopher Marte here with us, joining us tonight. Always happy to see you. You see the both of me.
Yeah, I know.
Are they coming? They're on.
I go down, that's what I was-
Okay, so we're gonna start, all right? Tracy, I'm gonna let you, introduce yourself. You're just gonna jump right in. Welcome.
Hi, everyone.
Do you mind
Hello,
standing up?
everyone in the room.
Do you mind standing up?
So,
I
just
do not mind. I do not mind.
Thank you.
Tracy,
I was
just
a
for
little-
Tracy and Marcia, for everybody, the cameras that are on the table are those giant white speaker looking things. In order for you to be heard, for the lovely folks who are online, you must be able to project and that has to pick you up, which is why we
Okay.
ask you to stand. So I
No
appreciate
worries.
that.
I was about to ask about that, the
There you go.
logistics of that, so I'm so happy that you told me that.
And sorry, one more thing, if you haven't signed in, there's QR codes on the table and outside the door, please sign in on the Windows code. Thank you.
Keep another one off pass around. Can I take this off the table?
Pass two around and you have extra, please. Mitch and I are both.
Okay, I'm sorry. Let, Mitch,
Okay, do a little housekeeping.
Mitch and,
Just
Christine, we're getting ready, we're starting.
Oh, I'm just saying.
Sit. Okay, we're starting. Go for it. All right,
Okay.
well,
Take two. Hi, everyone. My name is Marika Scott. I get to be the Deputy Commissioner for Intergovernmental Legislative Affairs of the Department of Social Service. It's DHS. You have a few folks, here. We have the interim Manhattan rep, Tracy Bukowski, and everybody. And she'll start the presentation. And some of you already know, back for a happy return, previous Manhattan rep, Marcia Horn, and our actual Brooklyn rep who came to see how things are done,
Everyone.
Abigail Aberdeen. So we are happy to be here and have this conversation. I know a lot of the folks here actually hold that thought. Greetings, council member, protocol observed. We're happy to be here I know you have lots of questions. We, as a team, do this a lot. And we have the opportunity to be with community boards, quite a bit. Some of your questions will be, familiar to us. I'm sure there'll be some that are new, based on your community needs. And so we're here to ask those questions. We just will start off with a generalized presentation. That'll just talk mostly about the particulars about the shelter, where it is, what population we're gonna be serving. So that's gonna be really short, and then we'll just jump into, I don't wanna.
well, I have
Q&A.
sent you a list of questions.
Yeah, I have-
So if you answer those questions, that would probably take care of a lot of questions.
But do you want to you want to just go down that
You-
particular list?
Presentation and then.
Yeah,
we'll
because
see if you have it covered.
it's very, I mean, most things is top of mind for most people here, so, there's that, actually, let me hush. Tracy is very familiar with the project. She's gonna start off, and then, we'll start in with questions. Okay?
Okay, well, hello, everyone again. I'm Tracy Carr, and I am the Manhattan Borough Director. And I'm happy to be here, and I hope I can do my best to answer your questions as best I can. We are here to support the community. We are here to work along with the community. And we hope that the questions, the answers we give, that we can work together to come to some type of resolution and some type of understanding. And this is actually our second meeting about Big Men, and I'm pretty sure there will be more. And whatever I can't answer today, moving forward, but the next meeting, I will try to have those answers for you at the next meeting.
When was the first?
I'm sorry,
When was the first?
November. But please, don't interrupt.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay, so, do you want me to read the questions
Well,
or?
why don't you give us a presentation on this?
Okay, so right now, the.
I'm sorry, do you mind moving a little bit closer this way
Okay.
so those of us in the hallway can hear what you're saying?
Can some people stand on?
But you guys.
Okay.
Stand by this one.
Maybe 20 or 25 of us.
Yeah.
Okay, well, I talk louder.
Hold on a second. I'm sorry, Tracy. Hold on a second.
So I need to maintain some form of fire exit from there. I'm gonna have a group of you come in this way. I'll make some space over here. All right, go.
About 5 of you, please go to the door, the next door.
Yeah.
This is also being recorded, so it can be watched back later.
Yeah, and so you'll talk to this one
Okay, I'll-
If
and
a
then,
board member comes, you'll have to give up the seat.
no problem.
I like being at the table.
Yeah, I know.
Two more. Two more, go next door. Did two more go next door?
Yeah.
Okay, so are y'all ready?
Yeah.
Let's wait for
Oh.
Tammy. Do we want to wait on Tammy? Thank you.
Okay, so DSS, DHS has proposed to open 170-bed men's shelter at 4143 Beekman Street. And the provider for that shelter will be Help USA. The shelter is general population and it will be a single men's shelter. And the reason why this location was chosen is because this, community doesn't have any men's shelters. So,
Okay, let it finish, and then we will go.
well, DHS doesn't have any men's shelters in this community, so that's one of the reasons why it was chosen. The shelter will provide services there, and, Help USA has been in the shelter, provider service for a long time. They've been in the game for a long time. I've been with DHS for 21 years, and I've been working with Help USA for a long time, and I am confident that they will do a very good job with servicing the shelter. And that's the logistics of it, that the shelter is, it's gonna have 170 beds for men.
All right, I'm just gonna jump in.
Let me just add to,
Oh, just the.
let me just add to, what Tracy is saying, there's an anticipated opening for the summer of 2025.
Yeah.
Is the anticipated opening of the.
All right, so along with that, I need to ask, do you have a lease signer?
All right, hold on a second. For the
Everyone,
public who is here, I just need you to understand, we run by Robert's rules for running meetings. So I will recognize, I don't know how I'm gonna count how many people. I'll ask somebody else who's in the room, if you're elected, to count how many people who have shown up for this topic so we can have it on
I've already
record.
told them.
But the way that we go is we ask that you not just make random comments, because we will call on people. First comes obviously our council member, the board members, and then members of the public. And we'll get through the questions. We'll get as much answered as we can. I can't promise you everything because I'm not that agency. We'll do the best that we can, but I would ask that you refrain from making disparaging or non-disparaging comments of anything on the way. Also, that kind of goes with no cheering, no hoops, no boos, no crowds, no clips, no clacks, no nothing on that, because we won't actually be able to get through the topic. And we hate having to tell people, I'm so sorry you can't speak, because somebody else spent 20 minutes saying nothing. But that's where we will get to if we don't have any kind of decorum. And I apologize, it sounds like a school marm and a school teacher, but you know, that's
We're not answering questions from the public yet. You'll get your opportunity.
Exactly.
Also, if someone has already said something, please don't repeat it. All
It's
right, we'd like to get to the topic.
It's
What?
related to the legislation.
No,
Not
no
yet.
questions yet.
Not yet.
We'll call it. So our first question is this a fait accompli? Is there a lease signed?
The lease is currently being in the final stages of negotiations at this point, but the shelter as it stands has been through, several iterations with financing and other things. And this is we're at the end part of the process with the lease.
Okay, so that's enough said that you're at the end. Christopher?
Have you signed an agreement with the provider yet?
Yes, the provider, the process begins, as you are aware, with the open RFP process, which, where the landlord, works with the nonprofit provider to bring the site to us. So, and then it goes through the iterations of working through the proposal. So, yes, that process.
I requested that the provider be here in person to be able to answer our questions. Is the provider here? Why?
The provider is not here.
And I asked that question leading to more of a statement, and I know you are messengers, but, so this is not against you, but hopefully this message can go to the people who are making the decision. Since October, you have refused to meet with any elected officials that represent this area. And we only met yesterday because we forced that meeting to happen before the community board meeting. We've sent countless amount of emails with a lot of questions that we've been receiving from our office, and we received more than 100 about size, capacity, who, what, where, timeline, and got no response. And yesterday, when I asked a lot of these questions that I'm sure that the community board asked, there still wasn't a proper response to them. And so this breaks the goodwill, the good faith that possibly could have created something that could have helped our community, the community that needs help. But I think the lack of transparency, the lack of communication, it makes this seem like a backdoor deal. And it allows rumors to spread throughout the community to reject this on the onset. We know that there's a crisis, right? There's no question. People who live in FIDI see homeless people every single day, right? We get the complaints. We talk to the first precinct about it. So there is a need. But I hope in the beginning of this process that we can work together to get something that helps people, especially families in need, in this, to put them in this community. But one of the asks I brought up yesterday was, why can't this be a family shelter? If the lease hasn't been signed yet, we can still make configurations to that building to allow families to be there. From the commissioner herself, she said, we're building new shelters to get people out of hotels. Currently, right now, we have 65,000 plus migrant asylum seekers in hotels. A lot of them are family because they come to my office for clothing and for help. We have locations like the Radisson. We have locations like 271 Grand Street that have families that need shelter or a place to stay. Why can't this location near great schools, near great potential opportunities for work, mass transit, why can't we get a family shelter at this location? Which I think most people in the community would accept because they know the value that this community can provide. And when you mentioned earlier, there are no DHS or DSS run men's shelters in my district. That might be the case now, but you are planning for including this in my district. The one on East Broadway, 91 East Broadway, the one on Worcester and Canal, the one on Washington Street. And so making those statements create a lot of mistrust, especially because we know what's happening in our community. And so I ask for the next time you come to this community board that you take what I say to heart and hopefully bring a presentation so we can actually see what's going to happen. We don't know the configurations. There's no information about security or potential security. I've been through a lot of shelter conversations as a council member and as an advocate. And what they have presented in the past, they go beyond just saying a few words out loud to the community board and to the general public. And so I hope for more. I hope that this is the start of possibly regaining the community's trust, my trust, and hopefully getting to a place where we're supporting families that need housing in our community. Thank you. Thank you.
So our main concern is that a lease is almost signed and we've had no input. And I think we said this in November. And so we're just in the same place. We're not getting any kind of working relationship by your agency saying, okay, we're willing to talk and discuss who might be going into the shelter. We're just being told it's done. This is when it's opening. And this is what we're unhappy about. We want to have a discussion. We want to give and take discussion. Councilmember Martin, do you want to say something else?
Have you reached out to the principals of the local schools? Have you reached out? Can you give us a list of community stakeholders that you reached out to notify outside of the community board?
So I do, and I want to answer your question, which, we've talked about this before. I also want to be responsive to some of the things that you said. We do have a stakeholder meeting, what we describe as a stakeholder meeting, scheduled with the local PTA, for the school that's nearby. That's coming up within the next couple of weeks. So we have been reaching out, and they, of course, have reached out to us as well, with some of the concerns that I'm sure we're going to hear today. I just want to communicate to everybody. One of the processes of notification is that the agency sends out letters to elected officials and community boards, and in our notification process. That notification process has within the letter, the site, the provider, the amount of capacity in this, and that. So there's, and some discussion about what the history of the provider, and the goals of the project. So there is a lot of information in these notification letters, but I know that community still reaches out and wants to know more. I want to address families with children, as we discussed yesterday, and I would love to have a wider discussion about the process. The process of families with children is different than single adults. The requirements for space are different. So it's not a matter of signing a different lease or saying that there's a different, that this space is allocated differently. When we go through our state regulatory agency, they, require certain certifications along with everything else. They'll come in, they'll do the site, and ultimately say what is viable at the site. And because of that, from the beginning, before the inception of the project, it needs to be allocated a certain way to go through those certifications. So even though we're at the tail part of a lease signing, that doesn't mean that it's in flux or that you can just, change it up in terms of.
I'd actually like to respond to the notification.
Well, can I
As soon as you're finished, yeah, absolutely.
Because my memory is not as good. In respect to the fact that this is a men's shelter, located at this particular site, as opposed to other sites that you mentioned in the district, this is a shelter as opposed to those other sites that are safe haven sites, and there are different tiers. Safe haven, stabilization beds, you might hear those terms. Those are different, what we call low barrier sites. So this is like a person who is street homeless. And if you know anything about the process or can even imagine, it takes a lot for our outreach teams to build trust with those individuals. And sometimes they're not willing to be a part of the rigors of temporary shelter. So they need a lower barrier to get them in off the streets. That would be the objective of a safe haven or stabilization bed. They have different tiers of
ask for the individual to come in. And so those other sites are not men's shelters. And many of the safe havens, and I don't have it in front of me, they're often co-ed or mixed community. And so that's why we say this is the first men's, single adult men's shelter, as opposed to the safe havens that we've talked about, previously, as an agency. And then security, we have a 24/7 model for security in every site. That includes cameras, that includes security personnel and perimeter checks, usually up and down the buildings, through different floors if there are however many floors there are. So that's a standard practice. There's what we call access control. So usually there's with an adult site, there will be magnetometers going into the site, plus signing in and signing out at any of the adult sites. That's what you would expect to see. You wouldn't expect to see that in families with children site with the magnetometer, but it's still the same access process. You need to sign in and sign out. I think that's it.
And I want to come back to, I'm sorry, I want to come back to security later. Yeah, good.
So we were notified in October 16th or 17th. We reached out immediately, as Marcia is well aware, to have a dialogue and conversation. We have been, I don't know how long you've been at DSS. I've been on this board over 12 years. We have been asking for a women children's shelter or a family and children's shelter and supportive of one since 105 Washington became an opportunity for a shelter long before it was turned into any of this. Long before, in fact, I was on the board. So we're well aware of the need. Our district in particular is set up so well that we have migrant shelters now for kids who need to go to school because we have the system to support it in this neighborhood. We have amazing schools here. So telling us that the ideal of you needing men's shelter in this area, when we are far aware of how many are being built just north, and yet no shelters for kids, when we have robust school systems here, means to me that DSS and DHS has not connected and spoken with our neighborhood in terms of what we need and what we've been asking and supporting. So it is extremely frustrating to know that our council person who seeks and understands the information through his entire district is saying it's disingenuous to say that there are no men's shelters. We've had temporary shelters, we've had migrant shelters, we have safe haven being built, which we've been asking for updates on for over 6 months, and I can't get any answers. I see guys going in and out every day with construction equipment, but I hear different things now on what that's supposed to be. So I am not thinking that your partnership with understanding the community has actually happened with the community. I'm a little confused. We as a community have said, yes, we definitely need shelters. We want to help the homeless on our streets. The Downtown Alliance alone has helped over 100 people off the streets in 2023 for permanent housing. 100 folks just in, and they're not even our entire district in CB1. They're maybe half, right? Their programming, we've worked with them to expand. So you're in a community board that's actually worked really heavily with community partners to try. But what I'm a little frustrated by is as a city agency, I don't feel I'm getting that partnership from my counterparts in city agencies. I'm finding it only with my counterparts in the private district who are working to get people off the streets. So I appreciate what you're telling me, but since this was announced, the notification was incorrect. I spoke to Marcia about it, that the notification was not correct about being the only men's shelter in the area. And it said, it's our first shelter. It's not our first shelter. We have 105 Washington that's going to open. So everything that I asked, you are the first person to come with data, information about the leases signed and other things. We're in January. I've been asking since August. And I don't want to put this back on Zach because the notification came on his first day. So, I mean, first day in the job, I was like, yeah, you know, I'll help get the information. So Pat and I have been on this emailing and emailing and emailing, and the community board asking. This community in general showed up and asked in November. And here we are, I'm gonna argumentatively say there's about 50 people, maybe, in the room on a school night,
On a poll.
on a freezing cold night. So I need you to come back to us with a little bit more than, well, we've done our research and this is what you need.
So let's be clear that when we talk about what's in the district or the community is based on the proposals that we have gotten. In response to why can't this be a family shelter? Why it's a single men's shelter? The response is exactly what I said about structure of
Do
the
they get
building.
paid more
And I-
for, I mean, but you
I
know,
I think that unfortunately, when we interrupt each other, we get a little bit off and there is a misunderstanding. So I mean, whether this is because I think we're off when you talk about the men's shelter, and your want for something else. This population, our projections and this population it will not be empty. The building will not be empty because there is a need based. We don't, have the luxury to choose always that this is a preferred population to shelter versus another population to shelter. Through the open process, we, as an agency, evaluate many proposals. And this is the one that was brought at this particular site and got through the process. We ask yearly for suggestions of sites. And, you know, and that's throughout the city. And I know for a multitude of reasons, people don't give us suggestions, but we do ask. And I understand that, you know, there are communities that feel like, you know, families with children is preferred. And you know, but we still have a population of men who are single, who for whatever, potentially no fault of their own, but have fallen on bad luck, and they need shelter. And so this is part of that structure that we build as the agency. Yeah.
But what I guess we're asking is why can't we put the men's shelter in a different location that is not so sensitive? It's across the street from an elementary school and put in that, we're not saying, right,
A middle school.
Pre-K through 8.
right,
Yeah.
why can't we put that single men's shelter in a different location in our community and put in the location that you're that you're about to sign a lease on, a family shelter?
Well, it can't be a family shelter.
So
It's not structured
okay,
for a family.
structurally it can't be.
It's not structured for a family shelter.
Okay,
We don't feel that a man who is on bad luck and needs shelter and housing is a threat to children.
Oh, my.
no, no comments, please. It's not a good.
You guys drug testing everybody when they walk in?
I will ask you to leave.
And it's next to two.
Hey, we just said,
To leave if
Cut it
you
out.
interrupt. It's not a good look. It isn't. It is not a good look to put a single men's shelter.
I have to, I have to respectfully disagree because, you know, as I just stated, but I would definitely state for the record, somebody who is on bad luck, someone who is going through their process and finds themselves in need of shelter, and we are a right to shelter city, is not a automatic threat
Okay, let me,
to children.
I want to, because I stated that before, and Marcia knows, that we are not coming at this saying that every person that goes into a shelter is a threat, that every person that goes into a shelter has mental illness, that every person who goes into a shelter is going to rob someone. That is not the community board's position. All right, so let's get that straight. That's not the issue. But it is not a good look to put a single men's shelter across the street from an elementary school. So I'd like
there
to
is
ask,
still need
right,
for other shelters. We're
But-
not saying there isn't a need for single men.
right.
We also know that there is a need for families and there is a need for kids. everybody has a right to shelter. There are other needs. There are needs across the board. Chris?
Is this building gonna be gut renovated? What's the current state of the building and what type of work will the new provider do to make it suitable for it to run?
And I don't have the construction data in front of me. That's, we generally speaking about the population and take questions. I can do the work to get a more detailed run of where the construction is, but the building is empty. And I'm not sure if it's a complete renovation and what it would look like, but it has to conform to all of the regulations, FDNY, Department of Buildings, and of course, our state regulatory OTDA, or Office of Temporary Disability Assistance, I think that is. I always, too many acronyms. And so that process, sometimes it varies exactly what it is, but I'm happy to share it with you.
I say that because 271 Grand Street was slated for a single men safe haven. It was gonna be run by Housing Works. When the migrant crisis started, it transitioned from being a safe haven to a shelter for families. They made no renovations. It was as it is. And so I'm trying to figure out why currently this building as it is can't be one for families. And if they're gonna do any type of renovation, especially a gut renovation, why can't they transition it into a family of children or a woman-only shelter?
That's a good question. Without knowing the particulars of that building, I could say that structurally, it was probably, set up, it was individual or larger rooms, as opposed to a dormitory style, which this is a dormitory style. So if this would be constructed as a dormitory style, and if it were constructed as rooms, that is more in line with what is state required for families with children.
I'm sorry
You're-
to interrupt. Just, why can't it be a single women's shelter then?
Because this population is growing and there's a need. And at this point, the numbers around the women's shelters, single women's shelters are not growing at the rate that men's shelters are. And so right now, this is allocated to work for them.
Can I say something about the need? Right now at our intake assessment sites, we're seeing a high rise in single men. And as everyone knows, New York City is very expensive. And some people have husbands and wives and partners. But if you're by yourself and you're making $50,000 a year or less, it's very hard to live here in New York City. So that's why the numbers of men has risen in the city. So we have to meet the projections. We have to meet the need.
And Tracy makes a great point, because there are people who are homeless and they are, going every day to a job and trying to get on their feet
Yes.
to get into some type
And on a
of
shelter, we can have
housing.
single men who will work.
Right,
Yeah,
so,
yeah.
and this is a general,
Yeah.
population
So-
shelter. I don't think we're taking questions yet. But
I don't know, Councilman Ortega, do you have any
I'll wait.
questions? Tim? No?
I have one question. When you're talking about leases and the operators, I know the operator. The operator is a very well-respected and good operator. They run a very nice program. But I have a question from the city. Does the city pay less for the lease if it is leased to one population versus another? Is there a different cost associated? Like, for example, the city is paying the landlords are involved with leasing the building. Does the city pay a greater rate?
The city's relationship is with the provider.
Is the
We have a
land- is
relationship
the
with the
building
provider.
owner paid more for a particular type of population than?
I did hear what you said, and the words and implication is that the city pays more to a landlord based on
the style and what I'm saying is this, the city's relationship is with the nonprofit provider. And can you help with that structure?
Hi, everyone. My name is Yvonne Ballard. I'm Associate Commissioner with Department of Homeless Services. The answer to that question is no. Per diems are usually based on the capacity of a particular shelter, not whether it's women, men, or children, or families with children. It really depends on the number of what the overall capacity in the building is.
But you can get more capacity in a dormitory style, single men's than you could with family.
Not necessarily, because when you're a single adult, we still have mandates, right? So everybody has to have 60 square feet of space, of free space for themselves, even though it might be in congregate. But when you have a families with children site, that families with children site can be anywhere from a 1.0, which is like a single mom with a child, versus a mother, father with 3 kids. So you still have 5. Right, versus, the numbers. So the numbers don't necessarily play out. It's the capacity of what we can hold. And in a families with children site, they don't go by how many members are in that family. They go by units.
Questions, we'll allow questions, but only committee members. The public will have to wait. Justine was the first person.
Thank you so much. So first of all, reiterate everything that they said, but you did mention that you had reached out to the school. Which school in particular and the PTAs have you reached out to?
No, they reached out to us to be clear, and they had similar concerns, and we are,
Didn't you say you did outreach to the community?
Yeah, that's why.
Everyone's coming up.
We've got
I said
something
that,
coming
I said
up.
we have a meeting coming up. And if I said that, I misspoke.
Okay,
To be clear,
but you do have a
they
meeting coming up
have a
with
meeting
whom?
going from, the Spruce Street.
Spruce Street. Okay, so I guess,
We have many people, including the PTA president and education
In the
here
room.
from that school, so let them speak
okay,
for
but let me
themselves.
say that beyond the Spruce Street School that they're speaking of, NPS 150, you've got 276, you've got the private school, Lamont. There's all in the neighborhood, and there's a lot more than just one school, is my point.
We're gonna go around the table. So Mitch,
This might be a rhetorical question, but you might not be able, why is the provider refusing to meet for the record? Have they, because you guys, obviously you're doing a wonderful job being a messenger, but why is the provider refused to meet with us or with the city council person or the other elected officials?
The provider has not refused to meet with.
Did I hear something wrong before?
We've been asking since October for the
The
provider.
provider has,
Okay,
our traditional, process includes a presentation, a full presentation,
Right.
which, the council member has, alluded to in other cases. And that happens closer to the date that we get to the opening. And that, at that point.
no comments. I will
At
ask
that
you to
point,
leave.
there are clearer, defined services, everything is in line, and all of the precursor procedures have already been completed, and they're ready to
Okay,
go.
so-
But they will be in
Mitch,
front
hold
of,
on a second.
they will be presenting.
Right.
They will be here. They're not here today. As a part of the process, they're not ready to make that presentation today.
Okay.
But there is no one refusing to discuss this topic. We're proud of them.
Oh, okay, so then just for the record,
Mitch, hang on, Marika,
Well-
what I want to point out to you, pursuant to what Mitch is saying.
Sure.
Is that's not the path that DHS has done with the community board prior in the past. We have precedent, and I mentioned this to Marcia, so Tracy should need to know this as well. When 105 Washington was first proposed, before the city was finished closing on the building, the operator and their lobbyist came to a community board meeting right after it was announced and met with the community board. We got a full presentation from them. As you know, 105 Washington is not even nearly open. It's still 4 years or 5 years later. So they came to the community board, they heard the concerns, adjustments were made, community outreach was done. They actually, the provider and DHS, reached out to every school around 105 Washington and met with principals and PTAs. The building wasn't even finished. It wasn't even started yet. So when you're telling us as a community board that you'll have a cab set up or a NAC or whatever neighborhood you want to call it, advisory group. After you're done, closer to completion, it denies the opportunity for the community to be a partner in this and to allow concerns to be brought up. We had the same experience of the provider coming with Leilani when we did the temporary shelters. BBSJ was an operator at that point, and they came and spoke to us. We hooked BBSJ up with one of the shelters that they ran in our neighborhood to be able to find appropriate locations that, for example, they were in a non-smoking facility. They needed to provide locations for smoking. So we connected them with the Downtown Alliance and with other organizations to provide service and opportunities and get them to know the neighborhood. They were able to change some of the protocols of how they did things based on conversations with the community, including for both the temporary shelter and the building of 105. So pursuant to what Mitch is saying here, our experience for how we operate with DHS is not what you are describing now. What you are describing now, the community is not in the backseat, not as a partner, as a side, but we're in the tow hitch in the back with no way to talk to the drivers. And that's not what we understand is the process. So if you can answer Mitch as to why this process is different than what our experience is, that would be great.
I just want
So,
to, I'm sorry, I just want to add that 105, the provider met with the residents that are directly next door. They had a separate meeting with them. And so they were able to, you know, have an open dialogue. We're not having any of this.
So I think Mitch's question was why does the provider not refuse to meet? And we're not, and they're not.
I'll allow that to be part of my question also.
Oh, a friendly amendment, I guess. So they're not refusing, and they can certainly, and we will be a part of the additional questions and conversations around this. But
why-
there's no,
Why weren't they here in November? And if you're returning in January, why weren't they here today? I mean, they've known they've been the provider since October. We've
Yeah.
asked for them to come with you. You're the city agency, so why aren't they here?
Or can we arrange to have them come next month?
I don't know, and I won't commit to having them here next month, standing before you. That's my,
I understand you can't.
I don't know what next month will look like for them, and it could be, anything can happen. But we are committed to having those, community and stakeholder conversations, looping them in to, any schools, any,
When?
interested parties.
Can I
as
invite
we
them?
move forward, as it comes forward, whatever the, whatever.
Let me answer. Can I invite them to come to, you can't guarantee that they'll come, but I will invite them to come to next month's meeting.
About full board. Get them here now before they sign the agreement.
Next month's meeting.
I mean, full board in 2 weeks.
It's next week.
Next week.
I'm willing to have help come at any point that they can. I mean, the concerns that I have
There's a
is
sign
we've been
agreement.
asking our city agency partner, no offense, Marcia, since October to have help come with you. I find it untenable that we're 4 months later and they have yet to come.
So I want to make sure that, that the conversation that we're having is one that moves forward. They're not here. They're not here based on what I just said, that we usually do work through this process the way I described. That doesn't mean we can't have additional meetings. It doesn't mean that we can't continue the conversations. I just don't want to get stuck on why they weren't here in October.
Okay, so
and
let's
here
get past
today.
that.
Can I?
I want to make a suggestion.
Hold on a second, I'm sorry.
If whatever date they can make it as soon as possible, if it can't be hosted by the community board, I am happy to co-host an event where the public can actually get answers from these providers.
I'll find a bigger room.
Do we get a commitment that they'll meet with us before you sign the agreement or the lease with them?
No,
You can't commit to that?
no.
Okay, that's not a very open process then, is it?
I'm not signing the lease.
Okay.
I can't commit to when all I know for the purpose of this discussion is that it hasn't been finalized and they're at the end process. They could sign it tomorrow, and then I've said to you, they're gonna meet before that. That wouldn't be fair of me to say. As it pertains to the business decisions of that company and this, that would be unfair to me. I would love to say it. It might make some people happy and might make it less warm in here right now.
Right, I agree.
But
I don't care about how happy they are, I care about how happy all these.
Okay.
Well, that's what I'm saying.
Yeah,
So,
I,
you know,
I agree with you. So
Can I-
why don't we just leave it at, we ask
We are-
you to invite
I had 3 points.
the provider to come, and we would like to have them come as soon as possible.
as soon as possible.
But we don't want to wait until the shelter is open for them to come. We would like them to come. I'm going to invite, Councilmember Marte is going to invite them. I'm going to invite them to next month.
And I would like to ask you to help us facilitate any stakeholders in the community that would like additional meetings with us and the provider to talk
Believe
about,
me,
talk
you've
through
got
their
it, you've got
respective.
it. We're going around the table.
I didn't feel, I had two other questions. That was the first question. I think.
It's
Your friendly amendment.
It's already 10 to, one question per person. I've already given them a list. Mariama,
Okay,
you can come back to you.
yes.
Mariama.
Well, first I want to say, I think that part of the community's frustration with phrases like there's a need is that the previous experiences have been that the need for a particular thing wasn't here. And other people were essentially bussed into the neighborhood when we do actually have need. That need wasn't covered. So our homeless people continue to be homeless, continue to be on our streets, while people from other neighborhoods were brought here and filled in these new buildings. So I think that's part of the problem when you say that there's a need, and when we're trying to describe to you what we have observed is the actual need and what we would welcome, you know, in a heartbeat in our community. And my question is, what factors go into ultimately deciding to put a men's shelter across the street from an elementary school and a college? If any, like, is there any additional thought process to, we need a shelter and we have to end up in this spot?
So I don't want to, you know, it does get a little repetitive. We do have an open RFP process. The open RFP process basically it says we accept proposals at any time throughout the process, and there's no end to the RFP. The owners will work with a nonprofit to come up with a proposal. The proposal is given to the agency to be scored, looked at, and to speak to the population that's needed. We, again, don't feel that a person, a man in a shelter is inherently a risk across the street from a school, from a college, or any of the lists that you made. So the basic tenet is that we house anyone that comes to us who needs shelter. And we have to have a bed for that. And because of that, it may be here, it may be in Brooklyn, it may be in the Bronx, it could be all over the city. Based on the need, we don't turn anyone away.
So that, you're, okay, Miriam?
I mean, it doesn't really answer,
No, but-
because again,
Yeah.
we continue to have our same homeless
Right.
people.
But we
They
don't
don't
want to
have
go around
shelter.
in circles. Okay, Jared.
My question is a follow-up to that, and I'm gonna preface it by saying that I agree that single men in a shelter are not inherently dangerous. But I think the question that people are trying to get at is, what about the ones that are? Like, what guardrails, and this is not meant to be an ignorant question, and I'll preface it by saying I apologize if it comes across that way. But what guardrails are in place to prevent, say, registered sex offender from being housed at that particular site?
Right, to be clear, it's not a ignorant question. We adhere to all state regulations that are associated with sex offenders. When someone comes into intake, there's a process, and I've described the process very quickly in that someone comes in after shelter, they spend approximately 3 weeks in assessment where we can see what their actual needs are. And we do have the opportunity to review their status. And if they were on a particular restricted list, they would not be placed at this.
So that review includes a criminal review, criminal status review.
It is not like a background check or like that. It has to do with the process of, that the state requires for anyone on the restricted list.
Which doesn't include.
Pardon?
The question, so then the question I had was, so obviously you can't make commitments on behalf of the operator, but you can make commitments on behalf of yourself and the agency. Would you be willing to go back to the provider and ask them to hold off on signing the lease until they sit down with the community? Because that doesn't require you to actually.
That's not a part of the,
Well, we're asking-
our,
But we're,
we
so
should,
we're asking
to ask them not to sign
to
the
hold off
list.
on signing until they've sat down with.
That we're all, I don't think that's feasible.
But why not?
Because we're in the same agency, that would be counterintuitive to the
Nobody's saying
process.
don't sign it. We're saying is, can you commit?
I
to
just
having a
want, I'm trying to be realistic. I don't want to give you the impression that there's an opportunity for me to go back to the agency and tell the agency to ask the provider not to sign the lease. I will, of course, bring back all the concerns. I will talk about,
I'm not
you know,
saying
what
not
it
sign the
is.
lease at all.
We're going around in a circle.
Yeah,
We're going in a
I just don't want to be
One
disingenuous.
of the things you said was that there's no background check, but like if I wanted to move into NYCHA housing, like public housing, they do a background check. If you have a criminal background, they won't let you in. If you're, I mean, there's all different things. So I don't, what is the difference with the shelter?
NYCHA, I'm not familiar with it, what, yeah, I know what NYCHA is, yes, but I'm not familiar with their background process. But to be, you know, having, a history or having had an encounter with the justice system doesn't mean that you don't also need a bed in some places to sleep tonight. So that process is different for DHS. It's
Right.
not the same as NYCHA.
And
we have
because
to
of
get
that, that's why the,
Mitch,
okay,
doesn't,
In stereo.
Is it possible to have some level of transparency about what that process is? Because that might alleviate or maybe even heighten, I'm not sure, some people's, concerns. I think that sort of knowing what, if it seems as though this is an immovable situation where it's gonna happen, is it possible to have some level of transparency with the community so that they're familiar with some of these processes, one of them being admittance into the shelter?
So transparency, is kind of a
It's
loaded
relative.
word there, but I don't, but in terms of, we as an agency work with the Department of Corrections. And so we partner with our, I guess, the sister agencies to go through the process.
I guess what I'm asking just quickly is, like you mentioned, that someone says that they need shelter, they would go, but they have to be informed of what the process is for them to get in, yes? Yes,
Yeah.
yeah,
I mean,
so, no, so I'm not trying to be facetious, I'm just saying, if anybody here wanted to know what that process is there some level of transparency that would allow the community to know what that, because if somebody was applying.
do they have an interview?
They have to know.
well, there's assessment,
Okay,
and throughout the assessment, I'll let,
that I understand.
I'll let-
I'm just saying, if anyone
What
here
details?
Yeah.
had concerns about what that looked like, is there some transparency around them? Like, is there a
You want to know
website?
exactly what the process is and
Yeah.
what questions to ask. We don't want to know who the people
No,
are.
I
We
agree.
want to know,
does somebody have to go through to?
yeah.
So we don't ask questions. What happens is like, Rebecca said, we have a partnership with Docs. Okay, and when Docs has a list of people who might be sex offenders that might be SARA restricted. Okay, so if they're restricted, they're gonna bring them in.
For people who don't know the vernacular, that's a sex offenders registry restrictions.
Well,
It's
yes
Sarah.
and no. You can be on a registry and not be SARA restricted, all right? But if you're SARA restricted, meaning Docs has deemed you to be, you need
they're like
Department of
closer,
Corrections.
Department of Corrections, I'm sorry. They have deemed you to need to be more intensive supervision and be restricted where you can live at. They notify us, we have an agreement where they bring them in, once or twice a week. They're brought into 30th Street, they are intake, and they are sent immediately, because we can't have Sarah, 30th Street is not a Sarah compliant building. So that we will send them to a Sarah compliant facility. So that's where they have to stay.
Is that what
Understood.
this facility will be?
This facility, because you are within 1,000 feet, child restriction has to do with, schools and, playgrounds and stuff like that, but because you're within that 1,000 feet, we cannot have, it will not be restricted, it will not be a compliant facility, so we can't have anyone that has been deemed, Sarah restricted in the facility.
Ideally get full slavery.
Thank you.
Who's next to this? Okay, so Mimi, it was your. Okay.
So. Well, I'm a little stuck on Desi's question. Is there some sort of educational material for the public to better understand and have empathy for people in the shelter system?
I mean, that's a broad.
Do you have like materials so that we can understand how?
Well, I guess
it works,
materials
so
that
we
would
can
say
be more
who's eligible and what benchmarks do you have to meet to be accepted into the programs. That was your
Yeah,
asking.
like we want,
New
like,
York
I
City-
think that a lot of the fear.
Please, I'm gonna ask you to leave.
We don't understand.
Or just get out.
Situation.
New York City is a righteous, shelter city.
I get that.
So in other
No,
words,
I don't wanna be offended, I don't wanna offend you, but like, we're saying some things,
Mm-hmm.
and I think we need to let us drill down a little bit, because when we say right to shelter, that means that that the restrictions for giving you shelter are minimal.
so that,
But, yeah, I think that like.
Right, so I said right to shelter, and you said you, like,
Yeah.
we know, but
Well,
it's,
yeah,
it's
but we
very
also
minimal.
know.
Right, so I just think,
Can you, is there a website where we can learn more about this whole thing? Like, how do we educate ourselves? so we
yeah,
understand?
all of this is located in terms of eligibility on our DHS website.
That's what I was asking.
Okay, I'm sorry.
Please clarify, this shelter is for temporary housing. Is this not, what's the, again, had help been here, this would have been questions I would have directly asked them. For example, we know from our conversations about 105 Washington and 52 William and all of the temporary shelters that were hotel turned with that sex offenders were not allowed to be within 1,000 feet of the boundary, school grounds as defined by the law, right? And there's also right to shelter. And they are not necessarily always the same getting along, but it also depends on the type of shelter. Is this 170 men's shelter designed for homeless temporary to permanent, that the average length of stay is 30 days because they have been vetted and they are not a registered sex offender nor on probation, and therefore will move in here to get back on their feet to along their path to permanent full-time housing? Or is this they're here for one night to 30 days, and I'm sorry, we're not gonna be able to screen them, which I don't think you are allowed to do across from the school. That's really a main kind of, I think,
Okay.
layman's question.
So that's what Yvonne is talking about. You described an assessment site as opposed to what this site is. To be clear, this is as she just said, a site that would be, I want to do a double negative. So.
You're not doing assessments for people to come in, so.
No. If
This
it's
is a
not an assessment site, okay, let me just take a step, because I want to make sure that we're all on the same page. When someone needs shelter, they will come into an intake site. It could be a family, it could be a single man, adult family, or single women. There are different intakes for each of those populations. They will come into that site. As Yvonne just said, at that site, if you are SARA restricted, meaning you cannot be anywhere near the playground or school or something like that, you are immediately sent to a compliant site. Immediately, not even for the assessment.
And
That-
people,
and-
people
oh,
should know
excuse
that
me.
the intake site is not here. The intake site, I think, is on 30th.
It's at 30th Street for men.
Right.
You go to a compliant assessment site, right? That's where you'll be, up to, 2 weeks, 21 days, where you're having communications with, case managers, and they're figuring out what exactly is your level of need. And then you could be sent to a site like this one, that where there is a temporary shelter, and you'll still be working with case managers to get your sort of ducks in a row to move to permanency. But because this site is close to a school, and there will not be anyone that is restricted from being close to a school at this particular site.
So they will all be screened to ensure that they can be at a site that's near a school. Right, just
When you
be
say
clear.
screened, I don't know.
They'll be- There will not be sex offenders on a registry that is preventing them from being across. the street.
Right.
Oh, can I say something real quick?
I think we have found.
Yes.
Right, yes, okay, we have- Okay, Councilmember Martin wants to say something.
Who is the building owner? Is it an individual? Is it an LLC? Can you give us their name?
I don't have that in front of me. Yeah, I'll have to circle back to the community board for that.
I believe he's owned several properties and has shopped them out to the city on several different occasions in several locations.
I have no, I don't know if we want to.
Get back to us.
Council member, we have a member of the public who has that information.
I would suggest that we not indulge and.
Yeah, no,
Well,
if you have information, I'm happy to provide it.
Okay. So here's the thing, you can say whatever you want. It's an open meeting, and according to Robert's rules, you can say whatever you want.
Tammy, Pat, yeah.
I just think that I would prefer to come back to you with the answer from the agency that is a clear answer. You might be right, but then again, you might
I
also be
personally don't
wrong.
see why y'all let Marie come back to you with the official information.
I mean, you know.
Cal, it has to be said right now because it's Francis's
Go
turn.
ahead, Francis.
Can you speak to the actual structure of the program structure that these homeless men will be going through?
So
Will
that's
they be-
one of the, that's one of
Will they have
the
classes
goals with
inside?
having
Will they
them.
be going out to go to work, or what are they gonna be doing?
So part of the reason of having, the providers be a little bit later in the process is to have that all nailed down according to how, the setup that they've made. But the goal of temporary shelter as a whole is to move these folks into permanent housing. So for whatever reason, if they became homeless because they are, are looking for a job, then there'll be referrals to job placement and working with them through that. If the problem is something is working through some other things, that will be case manager work. Yeah, all of those things, and that's part of it, a rigorous case management process. When we do have the provider here, they can talk about numbers of case managers and structures and how many and all of that stuff. But, our goal as an agency is always to move folks that are down on their luck and are homeless right now into permanence.
I think sort of based on Francis's question about, and some of the other questions, there are other issues besides sex offenders that might make population, some members of the population danger, such as, often people have a number of issues, including mental health or chemical addiction, difficulties. And is there going to be any assessment for that? And if those people will be appropriate to be placed so close to a school? And also, what kind of security will be in place?
So, So again, the process of assessment includes the level of services that are needed. If, as an individual or family goes through that up to 3 weeks, they work with their, case managers that will, maybe there is a substance abuse issue, maybe there's something else going on, maybe there's job placement. There's a lot of things that can, put a person in the need of shelter. And so that process is worked through for those 3 weeks so that they are appropriately placed in a place that has the right services for them. Restating again, 24/7 security throughout all of our DHS facilities. That includes cameras, video cameras in the facilities. That includes access control at the front of, and magnetometers for single population and outside and perimeter checks. Oh, yeah.
Does that answer your question? I just wanted to make a comment that we all know that security is only in the building and directly outside the building, not the entire block, not across the street,
That's correct.
not 2 blocks away, all right? So that is clear. Yeah, all right. That's one. Well, we still, Colin, anything else?
It's a little late now, but I just want to state for the record that, in addition to my role on the committee board, I'm also, along with Don Cameron, co-president of the PTA. You didn't reach out to us. You didn't reach out to the principal. I told the principal.
I just said I didn't reach out.
Okay, just
I
be
was
clear.
I said 2 weeks.
I just want to be clear for the record, though, that we had to chase you to have a meeting with us. But also, when you chose this site, did you know it was a school? Did you think there would be a problem with people being okay with that?
To be, as I already said,
Yeah.
it's not an inherent danger.
I didn't ask that question, but
Yes, but this is my response to the
Yeah.
question that you asked.
I didn't say there was inherent danger.
I am responding to your
Okay.
question. Am I fundamentally misunderstanding your question?
No, it was pretty clear, but I didn't talk about any danger. I asked if you knew there was a school there.
Okay. When you believe that there isn't a fundamental danger to schools, playgrounds, and a population such as that, having it be across the street isn't a red flag. So that being said, I'm not sure what was known, what the known knowns were, but it would not have been a flag to stop them.
Yeah, I still feel like you're putting words in my mouth. I just simply asked if you knew that there was a school there.
Well, but you said I said that, that I reached out to you too, so we might not be.
Clearly not. Thanks.
Nothing? Okay. We're gonna go around again. Justine.
Just a comment, if you knew and were able, not you personally, but the agency knew there was a school there, to my mind, what would make sense would be, okay, here we've identified a spot, here we're gonna be putting people who are homeless. Wouldn't it make sense to put families with children in that spot because there's a school right there? And that, to me, is another interpretation of Colin's question, not just about the danger. It's about the needs of the people that are going in there and who is best served by the resources and the infrastructure in the neighborhood that we can provide here in Fidei and where this is. And the best people, in our opinion, I think many of us, are the best use of that space to the homeless people that are going to be, or houseless people that are going to be living there would be for family and children. And I think that is the point of what we're all trying to get to.
All right.
We're not saying, get out, we don't want them. We're saying it's a better use.
It's been stated, thank you, Justine, that's been stated, and yes, we agree with you. Mitch?
Okay, so a different point, and to piggyback off what Diane said, is this shelter planning on providing substance abuse services? And because, do you know if this shelter will be providing substance abuse services?
If there's no clinic at the site, in terms of like referrals, that might come up, in terms of, because someone might,
I'm sorry, continue.
they might say, I am a former, I have an addiction and I feel like I want to go back to
Right.
it. And so a process like that might
Well, the
include
reason why,
some type of
you said the assessment takes around 3 weeks, so like, basically, I forget his name, and what him and Diana said, let's just say 95% of everybody, they're in danger, they're falling on hard times. But the few people that, so there will be some people with substance abuse problems there, just like, and so I think that was the point that they were trying to make, that as far as the location, and very quickly, in 2024, the ability to reconfigure a space is a no-brainer. And one of the things on the councilman, they were asking you about security before, and your answer was, there's a standard 24/7 security. That's like saying there's a standard procedure for NYCHA. There's, every public school on paper is supposed to be the same. But some shelters, some schools are better than others, better run than others. So if maybe on behalf of the council person, you can at least provide, the number of guards, the number of cameras, the procedures specifically for this shelter.
That's why we want the operators. And that's why
Okay.
part of the process is down the stream is having them here because they have the structure of the building is
But I know that they would-
rather than saying
Right.
that we have X and it changing to something Y. We have the opportunity for that provider to have worked through their full plan and can present that.
Tammy
to you.
Tammy and Pat were just worrying that in your process, when the provider comes, it might be too late at that point. So,
Okay,
thank you.
I have to, and I see the hands, Councilmember Martin.
Would you be able to share the approved RFP?
Yeah.
Because I think that would answer a lot of our questions, a lot of our concerns.
How do we do, let's circle back. Yeah, yeah,
We want the RFP.
please.
Yeah. Yeah, Mary Ellen.
I just wanted to say, like, in fairness, I think it's a presumption to assume that people's problem with a shelter being across the street, a men's shelter being across the street from the school is because the men are homeless.
Thank you.
I mean, we keep high school age children away from elementary school children. We keep people separate, we keep boys separate from girls, depending upon the situation. And people tend to keep grown men away from little kids. I mean, it's just a thing, whether they're homeless, whether they're housed, it doesn't matter. So I think that it's a real, it's like a presumption that you're trying to, I think a guilt, it's like a gaslighting.
Like I said,
This
bad
to
luck.
suggest that it's only because the people are homeless. It doesn't necessarily have anything to do with that.
Thank you, Miriam.
I'm not really sure how to respond,
It's just,
you
it's
know,
more of a
because
statement, and maybe it can be taken back to somebody, adult men around pre-K children is a concern. And if there's a way to avoid that type of scenario, maybe the city should factor it in and not presume that it's just because, again, they're homeless. It's because they're grown men and these are little kids. That's all. Right, so.
it shouldn't be. Okay, I think, I guess for the purposes of moving forward, we should just sort of agree to disagree on that.
My only question was, it almost seems like the specific services are, I don't want to say an afterthought, but we keep talking about it coming later. Was that not part of the RFP about what we as a city agency are specifically seeking? Or is it just, I'm just asking.
So, I don't want you to think of it as an afterthought, but and that's not the intention. But in order to be very clear about what can happen at the rate that it can happen and throughout the space that is assessed, you have to get a little further along in the process. And that's all that I'm saying. I'm not saying that they don't know what services will be provided. I'm simply saying that there's a better point in the process where things can be more locked in and evaluated for the
But
space.
is it not a component of applying for the RFP and filling the city?
Like I said, I'm not saying that these services were not discussed prior. I'm just saying, in order to give a presentation that is thorough, that can respond to everyone's questions, it is better to do that a little further along where the numbers don't change and the services and how it is structured don't change.
I guess the other question is just, I understand your point and it's in some ways a fair one that, that, you know, if you don't view a shelter as having, you know, being a threat in any way, shape or form, then the proximity to school isn't really a factor in the analysis, but isn't the community's input a key component of this? And why isn't it part of the process at an early stage?
What we take in terms of community, input, you know, I guess I'll step back a little bit, because I've been with the agency a couple of years now. And, I've never come to a meeting where people wanted the shelter. I've never.
That's on.
We've been asking for one for 10 years.
Yeah.
But, okay. I don't know what happened there. Maybe I missed it. How did they say it? I missed the memo on that one. So, there isn't a welcoming environment for shelters in community. And I think I'm not saying anything that surprises anyone in the room.
For sure.
So, you know, when it comes to input around where the shelter is, I think that in some cases there is, you know, we want to work with acknowledging what the process is. We want to work for clarity and transparency and showing that there is a need. And, you know, those have to be the goals for us, because unfortunately, the goal to get everyone on board, it just doesn't happen. And to be honest, again, in my experience, in the almost 2 years that I've been with the agency, I've seen full rooms of people who did not want the shelter for a multitude of reasons. And then as I walked into the cold, dark night, someone said, you know what? That used to be me. And I am glad that you
Yeah,
did
no,
that.
for sure. It's just.
So that's just my experience.
It's
Hope that
interesting because
answers
you're
your
hearing from a lot of people here that this is not just sort of pure NIMBYism. It's people saying, we actually would embrace this version of it. But, you know, look at the infrastructure that exists and use it to the most efficient benefit. of all.
But I mean, how do we describe that? I will embrace some shelter, but not the shelter that's needed.
I'm sorry, I want to interrupt, because we said, bring them in shelter from a different location.
But
And we said this location, we would love to see a shelter that supported families.
So we're not saying don't bring shelter.
but I'm not getting it.
We made suggestions during COVID. We sent a list of suggestions to DSS and DHS for men's shelters, for single men's shelters. We actually did all of it.
Listen,
Hands
as we
down,
say in the office, bump it up to me. I'll get it.
You know what?
I
I'm
would
so
love to.
frustrated right now. I can't even begin to get there. I gotta be honest, because let's just get to the public. I'm gonna keep.
Okay, no, we gotta move on. We have 10 minutes.
So just
Jesse.
quickly, I think what would be helpful, and this is, I guess, the responsibility of our committee, is at least fielding and creating possibly a list of questions that we could share with who we're asking to come in. So not to say.
List
that
of questions.
they-
I have it.
Done.
Right, because otherwise I think we'll be in this very contentious circular
Okay.
situation, and I don't think. we
Not to
want
cut you off,
that
but I'm
again.
cutting you off. We
Yes.
will discuss the list of questions that we will then present to the operator when the operator comes.
Excellent.
Mimi?
Andrew,
Oh,
too,
Okay.
to be moved over.
I'm
Andrew.
fine. I don't have anything.
Nothing? Francis? Diane?
Your community.
This is it.
It's crazy. Was there any other locations considered ever, or was this the only location ever considered?
But the proposal comes with a location. This was attached to that.
Okay, but there's never a process where DSS looked at other locations in downtown, it was only ever this one location?
It wasn't proposed.
It wasn't, there was,
Okay.
this is the one that was proposed. I don't know how many others didn't make it through the process.
So,
By the building owner then.
so Colin, I think what you're missing is DSS is not proposing.
Okay, so the building. owner.
These
Okay,
are
got it.
building owners
Right.
who look at the opportunities and financing that the city can pay them for.
Yep.
And then go through the RFP process, correct?
there is opportunity in financing and payment.
That's right.
All right, I have to move this along. I want to be perfectly clear, the public, you're not all gonna get a chance to talk, so your representatives are going to speak for you. That's Dawn and Carlo and Pat, Pat, I'm sorry. So,
Is there, and they're all from Spruce Street, correct?
Yes.
Is there anybody here who is not from Spruce Street School? What organization are you with?
I'm an individual. We're shareholders at Southbridge.
Okay, okay. Is there anybody who is not from Southbridge, who's not from Spruce, who's here? Looking for organizational stuff. And where are you from?
The president of 145 Nassau.
Okay,
Building.
all right, and the two of you are together, that's fine. And you, sir, where, you're with them?
so what have you to speak?
Okay, so we have 150, 144 Nassau, 145, I apologize. We have Southbridge Towers, and we are starting with Spruce Street.
And if you have a comment that you want to submit and you don't have to speak, just submit it in writing. And again, if someone has said it already, please do not repeat it.
Pat, do you want to give the time limit?
Yes,
2
2 minutes.
And this is also gonna help you, so you can be in touch with the organizations and
Eric wants to
building
say something?
conversations
Okay,
to set
I'm
up the
sorry.
individual meetings.
Did Andrea want to say something?
And Andrea too wanted to say something.
Okay, so we have 2 more board members, Andrea and Eric. Andrea, go ahead.
Hey, I just wanted to clarify. So about because this is located across the street, 1,000 feet from a school with young children. So, you know, you said this is going to be screened. I understand that, but technically, according to New York City law, a level 2 sex offender, once the probation and parole has been lifted, they're allowed within 1,000 feet of within a school. So level 2 sex offenders typically are nonviolent, but they usually, it's with a minor. So their offenses are with a minor. So technically speaking, legally, this shelter, if it goes by the city rules, will have, level 2 sex offenders who have had their parole and their, probation lifted. So I just want to clarify that. Is that going to be the case?
No one who has restrictions will be assigned to this site.
So let me understand something. Everyone, please. So if they have served their term and they're done with probation, former sex offender, they can't be in the shelter.
So even a level 2 sex offender who has, offended with a minor will technically be allowed in this shelter because if the restrictions are lifted. I just wanted to just make sure that that's clear and if that is the case.
So to be clear, I'm not familiar with the level 1, level 2 of that.
So
We
level 1 is
are
generally
able to hold-
nonviolent.
do restrictions
Level 2 is
based
nonviolent with
on
a minor.
Being on a restriction.
Hold on.
Wait.
I'm gonna let her go. Go ahead.
So
ma'am.
level 1 is generally nonviolent. Level 2 is nonviolent with a minor. Level 3 is the highest level of recidivism where they think that this person can, in their lifetime, cannot be, off the registry. So these people are always off the list. But the level 1, level 2, so once their parole is lifted, then, the restrictions no longer apply, allowed within 1,000 feet. But I just wanted to point out that a level 2 sex offender, usually involves a minor. And, this shelter is across the street from a school with young children. So that's all I wanted to point out. And I just wanted to just hear it from you or just clarify, will this still?
So under that, please indulge me a question. Under what you're saying, a person who is restricted could not live in a private residence across the street from a school, but under the same criteria that you just said, they could live in a private residence next to a school because they're not.
Person who was restricted and now the restrictions are lifted.
She's got it.
Okay.
Yeah, so I just wanted to just clarify. So levels, like former level 2 sex offenders who have offended against minors, who have trafficked minors, who have offended against minors, even though I just want to just question, is it a good idea to put these people, allow this, you know.
I'm sorry,
across
Audrey,
the
I
school.
interrupted you. Did you hear what Marika said?
Yes.
So if they live in a private residence, I'm not taking a side, I'm just restating that if they live in a private residence, they can live there.
Okay, yeah, that's fine. Okay, I just wanted to just because, you know, there was a question about it before and it was a very vague answer. So I just wanted to clarify that, like, this will be the case in this,
Great,
in
thank
this place. Thank you.
Thank you, Andrea, thank you. Eric, unmute.
Yeah. Hi, thank you. I just want to say, people have a right to shelter in New York City, but New York City doesn't have the money. The city budget and essential services have already been cut. New York City homeless shelters must only be for New York City and New York State residents and veterans, and then space as is available for other visitors. I don't want any new shelters. Also, the RFP process is allowed to happen under the claim from the Department of Social Services or Department of Homeless Services that this is an emergency. And because of this, under that claim, this avoids the uniform land use review process, so that the siting of these homeless shelters do not go through a public review process, where they only tell us when they've already had the negotiations and they've already have been in discussions with the shelter operators. So this process is, it's already, I'll use the word, it's bogus. So that's what I have to say on this. Thank you.
All right, thanks, Eric. We also have Jess. Jess, unmute.
Everyone, thanks. I wasn't going to say anything, but I just want to go on the record to make clear that not everyone in this community is against this shelter. Thank you guys for coming to these Watergate-like hearings. You literally do the most important work that our government does, putting the most vulnerable people into homes. So I wanted to thank you. I went to New York City public schools all my life. I was in high school around the corner from a homeless shelter. Not only were there never any problems, no one even knew it was there. This is a great benefit to our community. It's a great benefit to our city. And I think we should get behind you and encourage you. And I just wanted that on the record. Thank you for coming.
Thanks, thanks, Jess.
Thank you.
Okay.
I was born on the
Now.
day of the water.
All right, it
My
is
mom would
7:30.
do it.
You're a baby.
We got a long agenda ahead. Go on.
Okay, thank you, thank you. Thank you, Mrs.
2 minutes, Dawn.
Taylor. I'll make it really quick. I do have a statement that's short, but I wanted to say regarding the meeting that we have respected at the PTA. I just wanted this room to hear that you guys tried to say this would be the meeting and we wouldn't come to the meeting with the deputy mayor's office, and I pushed back and say, could you come? And I also want to say, we asked that it be in person, so you could walk the courtyard where the students gather, and we were told DSS will not appear in person, only virtual. So the deputy mayor's office will appear in person, but not your group. So I hope you do consider that.
Ask for help to come in person.
Okay, thank you. And I will very quickly read this statement, which was voted in by the parents. I have an additional 50 statements from parents who couldn't be here tonight. I'll turn this in for review.
Thank you.
And I should probably stand some speaker here. We, the members of the Parent Teacher Association of the Spruce Street School PS 397, are deeply concerned about the proposal to open a homeless shelter at 41 Beacon Street. While we all understand and empathize with the need for more homeless shelters in our city, we believe that this location is not suited and poses several potential risks, in particular to our school. The proposed location is directly across the street from our school, just across from the plaza. Every day, 450 children between the ages of 4 and 14 get dropped off and picked up less than 250 feet from the proposed shelter. Neighborhood walks and activities are an integral part of the elementary and middle school curriculum. It's common for middle school students to arrive and dismiss without a caregiver and go out to lunch, and are so frequently alone in public space. Their safety would be potentially compromised by the proposed shelter. Schools and plazas should be safe spaces where children can focus on their education without worry or distraction. Our school truly makes an active effort for diversity and integration, both when considering the teaching body and when considering the students and families attending. Letting our front door and our plaza become a magnet for homeless single men with potential mental health issues would harm this effort, and the highest price for it would be paid inevitably by the less fortunate families in our community. We would also like to remind the authorities it's illegal under what we all know, that's going to skip the sentence. 1,000 feet, of course, you do screen, but it cannot always do so thoroughly, and as we know, as a fact, it has failed to do so repeatedly, including in our same neighborhood in the recent cases regarding the shelter at 52 William. We demand city officials seek alternative locations for the shelter, places where they can provide the necessary services.
Done.
Done.
You can submit it, yes.
Amen.
Okay, all right, no
All right,
comments,
so-
Liz. Carlo and Patrick, did you have something else other than?
Did you want to put this on PTA letterhead, formal stationery and
Yes.
submit it?
Did you have
You want a
something
statement from the
other
other
than,
50 parents?
and Carlo, you had something other than what?
I'd let Pat go first.
Okay.
So for the record, the owner
wait,
is,
Sorry.
Hold on,
the
I'm gonna time this, but I will also, for the record, note that we received 50 written comments, above and beyond the statement from the PTA that will be submitted and held in the office.
This site was bought in 2022, and it's grouped by Sandu Group of Companies. And the print SANDHU, and the principals are TEJPAL Sandu and Amrit AMRITPAL Sandu. So you say you want transparency and work with the community, and they have to be the goals. Well, your action to date marched to a different tune. After this November meeting, we found out that the site was known as far back as 2022 by our research that was in the Help USA 2022 annual report. The Beekman Help USA site, or the Beekman Help site was in that report. We demand answers as to when you first were approached about this and why you didn't reach out to that point. You say in your office there's a bump it up to me. Well, you haven't bumped it up to the community so far. Unfortunately, from my own experience in my old housing in Midtown, this is your playbook. A representative of previous mayoral administration went on the record at a CB meeting saying they purposely attempt to keep these as opaque as possible so local communities don't find out until it's too late. And you even stated in the process is that after the provider will come closer to the opening after a contract is signed, and again, it's too late. That's something that our constituents in this community and this community board should not accept, and neither should you, Councilwoman Marte. And despite no progress on information being shared in the last 2 months, I'm pretty sure progress has been made on the legal contract that is about to be signed. Councilman Marte, last month's meeting, or you said you do not support a men's shelter at the site. It's clear from tonight that this location won't be a family shelter because what only can be inferred as this site only will greatly reduce the headcount, which makes it uneconomical for the provider or the landlord.
That's right.
So my question is, what can happen now to stop the contract from being signed? Who controls that? Because it's clear that from the DSS representatives, the lease is almost there. So I propose you, Councilman Marte, use your connections to contact the community, either the comptroller, whoever controls this, tomorrow, and stop this from being signed before it's. Thank you.
No sharing. You want to submit that into the, well, I guess it's on, it's being
It's on the
recorded,
record,
so
but if
yeah.
you would submit
Carlo, do you have something different you want to say?
I would like, based on what they said, much more in detail than what I would. And with all gratefulness for the work that you do, we've heard that this community does want to host shelters and help solve the problem. But being compassionate and being rational are not incompatible. We owe to our fragile populations, both the homeless and the children, to find solutions that work for both. Precisely because this is getting signed soon, yes, please, Councilman, do something. Just pause it. So we have the time to think and find better options for this community. So I don't know if I, as public, can propose a resolution, but if I can, I think that this group should oppose the shelter as it is and request a more transparent and open process so that we can get to the shelters that we need and can help and support. And we do not get a shelter that can hinder one of the few public schools in New York that do a real effort to help vulnerable families and children. I was their predecessor, and we had a family that was sheltered that for some reason, your agency had to relocate to the Bronx. We fundraised for them and helped them get permanent housing so that they could stay in school and keep the same level of education that they had before. We did that for that family. We will do that for 100 families. Send them to us because we do want to help them. We cannot, obviously, as elementary school children, teachers, parents, help single adults that need all our help and all our compassion. And again, thank you for doing it. You have all my personal support in doing so. But please don't tell us that the best possible site for a single man shelter is literally across the street from an elementary school. Not all of them are an issue, but some can be. Thank you.
I'm sorry, state your location again.
Of course, Scott Hobart, I'm the treasurer of 145 Nassau. I'm also a parent at Spruce Street. Myself, together with a collection of concerned residents, wrote a petition. I'm going to read you an abridged version. There were 1,350 signatures on the petition in 3 days. I'm happy to file that. Our comments were as follows. We're deeply concerned about the proposal to open a homeless shelter for 170 single men at 45 Beekman Street. Whilst we understand and empathise with the need for more homeless shelters in our city, we believe that this particular location is not suited and poses several potential risks. The proposed location is directly across the street from Spruce Street, PS 397, the local public elementary and middle school in the financial district. 41 Beekman Street is less than 250 feet from the school. Just across the plaza, where 450 children between the ages of 4 and 14 get dropped off and picked up every day. Neighbourhood walks and activities are an integral part of the elementary and middle school curriculum. Additionally, the proposed location is less than 500 feet from the dorm building of Pace University, as well as multiple other school facilities, a total of 15 that we count within half a mile of the site, such as Pine Street as well on William Street. State law prohibits sex offenders from living within 100 feet of a school, yet the shelter system cannot always screen its population thoroughly and has failed to do so in recent episodes. There was a temporary shelter at 52 William Street opened in March of 2020. It is on record that during the operation of that facility, there were not one, not two, but 5 registered sex offenders housed at that facility at one point. 2 of those sex offenders were convicted pedophiles. One had raped a 7-year-old girl and the other one a 10-year-old girl. This is residents that were supposedly screened by DHS. The proposed location also happens to be literally 2 doors away from FDNY Engine 6, as well as less than 500 feet from the ambulance entrance to the emergency room at New York Hospital. The coexistence of potentially mentally ill single men and emergency workers at such short distance may be dangerous for both. We propose that city officials seek alternative locations. Thank you.
All right, so we'll submit it. So you've spoken on behalf of these 2 gentlemen also, right?
Yeah, when he spoke for me.
And for you.
So that's,
145 Nassau.
145 Nassau, that's 150 Nassau over here.
Did 150 have a statement?
Yes, she does.
Oh, okay.
So
Would you stand up,
Talk
please?
loudly and
Face the owl.
And introduce yourself.
I'm Chantal Monkel, the president of the board at 150 Nassau Street. I'm also a parent.
Just stand up and come a
Because
little
you will need to
closer.
talk the whole time, so it records you, sorry.
Okay, so the term sheet for the long-term shelter contracts specifically have requirements before the DHS may enter into negotiation for such contracts. Specifically, there are 6 requirements listed. The 6th requirement specifically states that the project is designed to optimally serve shelter clients through all aspects of intake, stay, and departure. And this is the pertinent part, and is thoughtful and considerate of the neighbourhood context. Hence, we must see the RFP, because if it is not thoughtful and considerate of the neighbourhood context, it is in breach of the requirements of the term sheet.
Okay, thank you. You'll submit. Oh, I guess I keep saying you'll submit it. It's already on record. Was there another building?
Southbridge?
Yes.
Hi, my name is Catherine Rafa. I'm not a parent. I'm just a Southbridge Tower resident here. I'm curious for the DSS guest. What is the curfew at this building and what time will the residents have to leave in the morning? My understanding is that all non-migrant DHS shelters, there's an evening curfew and they have to be out at a certain time in the morning.
Okay, that's not correct. There is a curfew at 11. The curfew for DHS shelter is part of the process of making sure that we know who's inside and what beds are available for our intake, for the next day and throughout the night. So as part of that process, even as someone is, even if they're late, they're not turned away. If they need to, a lot of cases, they will be able to get the same bed, or they might have to get another bed, in which case transportation is sent to the next bed. So they're not put out in the street after the curfew, and no one is made to leave the shelter during the day. That is, essentially something that happened many, many years ago, in terms of, it's still conceptually what people think, but that's not true. We do ask that, folks leave their rooms and dormitories so that it can be clean during the day, but we have common spaces where people will,
What time does that happen?
that may happen throughout the day. And then also, like I said, there's common spaces, and many of the folks leave for jobs and family appointments and, to meet the family and certain things. So, yeah, but they're not required to exit the building.
And also that is something that you'll discuss with the operator when they come. Okay?
And I'm Adam Sanasi, I'm the Southbridge Towers president. I'm just gonna keep it brief because I don't want
We have 2 minutes.
Okay, so I'm just gonna, not have to repeat anything. In many ways, Southbridge Towers has been living next to a homeless shelter for the last 50 years. And that homeless shelter is more or less the hospital. We have several incidents. My wife, when she was 6 months pregnant, and I were chased across our grounds by someone who was, let go from the hospital. You can see the hospital bracelet as we're screaming at and chased across our grounds. There's a lot of, and I doubt you have the answers. There's a lot of details we don't know, and we have legitimate concerns because we've been dealing with the security implications of having this population in our neighborhood. I mean, I've felt it. We countlessly have people found loitering in our building, loitering on our grounds. And really, we've heard no plan. I'm concerned even more so for the school because we have those 2 public plazas. And it's quite clear from the statements that there's no plan for your security. And we're just gonna have to put it on the New York precinct to go patrol that area where it's just gonna be a hangout. And there's a very little detail, and it's just like not a lot to comfort us. I don't even know, as the Southbridge president, how to make an action plan because I don't know what we are facing against. I don't expect you guys to take care of everything, and I appreciate your tough job because as a board president, I'm used to being in rooms with a hostile crowd, so I understand what you're going through, and I appreciate it. But what you just got to give us the details and just be honest about what's going on. For example, the Sandhu Group bought this property for $5 million in 2022. The principals have donated $5,000 each to Mayor Adams' campaign. Did this come through the mayor's office? How did this site go there? There's a lot of questions, and it's not building trust. We want to be, we're having a clothes drive. We would love to, donate stuff, but you're not inviting us. You're not even telling us what's going on, so we
Right,
can.
your time is up. And remember, the operator will come and you can ask some of these questions. But I also want to state that we have other homeless shelters in our community and people who are outside during the day. And we have unhoused people in our community that are not necessarily affiliated with any of the shelters. So just making that comment.
Can I just build on something that, the gentleman said? To talk about security, again, I did say that there are perimeter checks. And to be more detailed about that, we have, what we call the neighbor policy, which prohibits folks from loitering or being, in front of buildings. So the part of the perimeter check is to make sure that our residents are being good neighbors and not smoking in front of the building or doing things like that. And offering, if they're seen doing that, doesn't mean it doesn't happen. We have regular patrols that will let them know, hey, guys, come in. This is not the right thing to do. That would include, visibly being, we're not the police. So that's to be clear, but there is a,
Police won't clear people who are standing outside anyway.
Yeah.
It is incumbent upon the shelter operator to ensure that people are not standing outside the building.
well, yes, and that's exactly what I said, but the perimeter check is to make sure that that's being done. Also, and again, the good neighbor policy, is part of what someone, when they come into the shelter, they're made aware of what the expectations are to be seamlessly integrated into the community.
And the consequences if they don't.
Yeah, yeah.
Which, and we can discuss that when the operator comes.
No, we can just, I mean, we can talk about it. I mean, there shouldn't be any deviations,
You know
but.
what? They have been planning this shelter, the operator, since 2021, 2022. So I actually am a little frustrated because it's in their annual reports as to why they can't come to the community board.
Okay.
So again, you're gonna get back to us, you're gonna ask them, you will get back to us about them coming, and a copy of the RFP. Was there any?
There was one other group, and we had Southbridge. Ma'am, what group are you with?
The Pine Street parent, who I
At the
haven't
Pine
spoken-
Street School?
Yes, Pine Street School.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Please identify yourself.
Sure, I'm Melanie Schnurger. My son goes to the street. And I'm not going to repeat, the stuff that's already been mentioned about the screening issues that we had at 52 William. But, I would like to say that a lot of questions were asked and were not answered tonight. And I know we've talked about Help USA coming in, but I'd like to propose a resolution that a town hall public hearing is scheduled that provides full details on the plan before a contract is signed. And that at this town hall, all stakeholders be present with the presentation, not just DSS and DHS and Help USA, but the landlord, representatives from the mayor's office, and our local elected representatives, not their staff. Councilman Marte, thank you very much for being here tonight. Love to see you again. Assemblywoman Grace Lee and the Borough President, Levine.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, so as was stated earlier, is there any other group? Okay, as was stated earlier, we are going to send out an invitation. Councilmember Marte, we'll send out an invitation either individually or we'll do it jointly with the community board to ask the operator to please come and have a meeting with all of us. Is there something else you want to add, Tim? Councilmember Marte?
I don't. Hold on. Let's finish where Pat's going and then we'll address his request.
My last question is, why hasn't the lease been signed? If the owner and the provider knew about this for a long time, what's holding up the lease and how soon do you think it will be signed?
And we just all looked at each other because I don't think that we have an answer to why it has not been signed. I honestly don't remember saying it hasn't been signed, but maybe I did. But I will make sure, to circle back with.
I think that it's close to being.
I think, okay. Yeah, I think that was close to being, completed, but I don't know if that, I'm sorry, my feet hurt. So I'm just gonna project. I don't know that being close to the end means it has not been signed. That, when I asked internally, where are we in the process? We're close to completion is part of that answer. It didn't say it has not, no one indicated that there hasn't been a signature. It just takes quite a bit of processes to develop everything, when it comes to this. So I'm happy to circle back with the specific question of, has a lease been signed?
Tomorrow.
No.
Said not.
Then we're not getting into.
Can I go on the record and just make a comment that this is?
Hold on, no, you have nothing recognized. Please wait. Please wait.
And is it a comment that's different than anything?
Yeah, it is actually.
All right, hold on, before you go there for council.
And I'm a representative of Fulton Street Coalition, by the way.
Please.
Gotcha.
I'm sorry.
You do not know where in the process. We have had a request from the public, and I want Councilmember Marty, who asked us to ask the city by resolution to pause the process until Help USA and the city comes and does a town hall meeting to be able to give full information. There are questions, as Councilmember Marte has noted, of changes that were made from a men's shelter to a family shelter. So saying it's not possible, when we know we've seen it done in the district and other locations, is possible. So I'm a little, I'm a little frustrated because I am, as chair, the board wants to say, yeah, I think that the city should pause, since the city is known for several years that this shelter was in development, according to Help USA. Their annual report that was released in June was dated for year 21-22. So it's been worked on by the city behind the scenes without any dialogue with anything in the community. And we have had a decent record even during that time period of working through shelter upon shelter upon shelter upon shelter. So I know this building was not one of the shelter sites that we recommended, I think in 2020, after we went through work and looked at all the abandoned hotels and buildings, et cetera, et cetera. So I'm real curious as to how we're hearing that, no, it can't be changed. We know it's been able to be changed in other parts in Manhattan. No, it can't be stopped, but maybe we don't need it stopped, we just need changes made. But if the end result is a signature that says, nope, this is it, and it definitely can't be changed. I don't know, I wasn't at the one in the village to know what happened over in that board. I am almost inclined to agree with the members of the public who are asking us to do a formal resolution saying, we'd like you to pause until the community is given the information. We'd like to know why and how the considerations of maybe being a family shelter could be accomplished or could not, and why. But I think that the public deserves a right to know all of this. And I think for me, what's eating at me is that this has been in planning, at least by Help with RFP, for over 2 years. So you, please respond.
So, you know, we're responding to why it can't be a shelter, a families with children shelter, and it's a single adult shelter. Like, I know that there is not an openness to hear what that is, and there's a perception that it's movable, and I get that is part of, you know, the process of even engaging tonight in this conversation. I completely understand that. But how the structures of the process, I was gonna say very complicated, but it includes things that structurally allow for this to be a single adult shelter, but not a families with children shelter. And, you know, it's not, stand up even in my feet. It's not meant to put off anyone who's here and wants to hear more about that change, but it's part of the process. If there was something that, I mean, we all maybe have done a renovation or something like that. This is not as simple as that. This is not something that you call one architect and you get a second opinion. This involves regulatory bodies, certifications, and to the extent that this, the structurally what is different for a family shelter is completely different for a single to be certified. That's what it is. And unfortunately, we're answering the question. It's just not a yes.
This might be a question you can answer, but so there's X amount of square footage. Are you saying to us that because of the square footage that you have in this particular structure, you cannot configure it for families?
Because of the square footage, because of how the calculations of everything, of how residents would be there and funding calculations and things like that, it presents a static. At some point, it can't change. And right now, we're at the point where structurally this is set. And it's not a family, and it's not a family.
But let me just understand this. So is it set because the interior architect has calculated based on square footage required for families, right? Is that it will cost this amount of money to do the interior construction? Or is it because, I'm not quite understanding why.
It's more because it's not an either or. There are more factors. It's not the square footage only aligns with one thing or the other. There are other factors.
Can you just give us, like, what's another factor?
Well, as I said, in the presentation of a dormitory style is different than a single, a room, that would be around.
Yeah, no, I totally get, but that's what I'm saying. So you have X amount of square, I have a box, a blank box, and it's got X amount of square feet in it. And I can divide that box up into any configuration that I want. And yes, we have limitations because if it requires, 20 square feet for a family and it only requires 10 for an individual, then I can only get X amount in for families as opposed to how many I can get in for individuals. So I'm not quite understanding, like, what is a calculation that can't be changed? If no construction has started, then why can't it be? It's just a matter of an architect reconfiguring it. And you might only be able to get 10 families in there as opposed to 20 singles. But I'm not quite understanding what the.
As in any given project and maybe we're sort of spinning around, there's a point where changing or having something be completely different, as I said, these are completely different models, is prohibitive.
But you're saying it's money? It's money?
Well, I think I heard it said, many, I've heard it said in other iterations of places, nothing is impossible with the amount of money that can be spent. But, I say that a little bit of levity because, we're at the point where to move and change, nothing is impossible. And so, there's that.
But I think what you're saying then is that there was a budget that was allotted to this project. And based on that budget, the architect has configured for single men. And now if we're going to change this configuration, that money is no longer going to apply to.
That suggests that it's generated singularly through a budget. Like I said, this is a proposal that was given to DHS through the process. So the DHS, once the proposal comes to us, we score it as.
So now I got it. Let me just say that to you then. So in other words, the owner of the building came to you with a proposal for a single man shelter. Is that correct? Or am I wrong?
Yes.
Okay.
When?
So
When?
I don't have to think. I don't.
Okay, but I don't really care about when at the moment. So they came with a proposal for a single man shelter. That was the.
Let me just interrupt, which kind of speaks to the point that she's making. You can make a proposal and they're not always followed through, accepted in the process.
That's not me who's here this time.
No, my goodness, that's not me. And so if a provider says we project, they may have a proposal. I don't know. I wasn't privy to that document, but that doesn't mean that a proposal that's presented scores through the process and is actually comes to fruition.
Well, this one was accepted. And so I'm assuming that the building owner came to you, not the agency, but to the agency.
And everything.
With a proposal for a single man shelter with using X amount of square footage. So they knew the formula that is necessary to house X amount of individuals. And so they came to you with this formula. So now to change the process, I believe what is being said is that you would have to go back to the owner of the building. I guess it's the owner of the building because they're the ones who came to the agency with the proposal, right?
The owner with the nonprofit, and we wouldn't, that would be not a part of the process. The process is here's a chocolate cake. I'm allergic to chocolate. His strawberry cake, I'm allergic to that too. His vanilla cake, I love it. You know, there's things about it that you can work with, there's things about it that you can't. And, you know, I'm just overall making, you know, general factor, that is scored. And I'm not a part of the scoring process either. But, what I mean to say with that is the cake is what it is. It is
Cost effective.
No, but that's because the proposal that was presented to the agency has been accepted. So if the proposal is accepted as is, that is what we're going forward with. What I'm saying now, I guess, is that we're asking the agency to reconsider the proposal and go back to the owner who presented the proposal in the first place and see if it's possible to reconfigure, for them to re-propose what we are asking for, which is a family shelter.
You must have been.
Yeah.
Did everybody follow what I was saying?
Yeah. I also want to note for the record, Zach, how many people do we have online?
72.
Thank you.
You know, that rain tone was my bet.
Yeah. All right, you know what? All right.
Try a plot story, right?
To settle and resolve this tonight. So we're gonna have several more. In the meantime, what we have said, the way we're leaving it, is that we are asking to speak to the operator. And we are doing, and what do you think that resolution should say?
I think there are two things. I think we need to state, and no offense intended to DHS and DSS, but I've been asking since we got notification to have the operator come with, and we're not getting anywhere. So I'd rather do it at least by resolution and then send it up to the mayor's office. No offense intended. But saying, you know, there needs to be a large town hall meeting. The public needs to be informed. The operator needs to come, needs to make a presentation. We've asked nicely several times. I think we're done asking politely. I think a resolution is the formal vote that we take on this. Is that there has to be a public meeting that help who has known that this RFP existed since 21-22 and bid on it because they put it in their annual reports as a project in development, that they need to come with the city to come clean.
Okay, so, you know, we're doing a resolution, is what you're saying. We are doing. Do you have, you know, lots of people have things that they want to say. Do you have something that's like so important that you have to say it?
Yes, this has been Anthony Medigo, president of Full Street Coalition. And I have to say, there's 100 people here. This has been one of the most unprofessional presentations by the DHS that I've seen. I mean, we have gotten no facts. It's been back and
Okay,
forth.
but we know this. It's nothing. you
I
have
know,
to
but
say.
but I like to say this is on the record. I mean, there needs to be some type of elevation from who's here.
But we're
No
just
personal
saying
attack.
that.
Good.
It's nothing you have to state.
Okay, well, I stated it anyway.
So we are going to do a proposal, a resolution, and do you want to just formulate it?
A resolution which states that we are demanding, urging, strongly suggesting, in conjunction with Councilmember Marte's office, that a public meeting with a full presentation by DHS and Help USA on what is being proposed at Beekman's shelter be done within a 60-day period.
We also ask for an immediate pause on signing anything.
And a pause on the finalization of any details until this is done. We're not opposed to a shelter, we're just opposed to
the type of
to this type necessarily, unless, again, there are many types of shelters. There are also temporary shelters that people live in for, 6 months to a year, who are really just trying to get back on their feet. I mean, there's all kinds of single men shelters. It's not necessarily that single men necessarily, but it's what we don't know.
The devil's in the details.
And the devil's in the details.
Okay.
So, yeah.
Any public documents made available.
I'm sorry.
And the
hold-
RFP.
Everybody, hold on a second. We have not talked about 105, Washington. So I don't know if you came prepared to discuss 105 Washington, but it's late. So why don't we invite you back to discuss? Were you prepared to discuss 105 Washington?
Well, it is moving, according to the construction plan, but, other than that, there's been no.
All right, so we'll have you back to discuss that. Okay, so
It's supposed to open spring 2024. Do you know if that's still on?
It's still.
Okay, so yeah,
Projected to open it that.
And has the operator changed?
No, the operator has.
Okay.
So we'd like to welcome them back. They came 5 years ago. They've met with all the locals. We'd like them to come back again.
All right, I will invite you back.
Because that one is supposed to be, remember, singles, couples, people with pets.
Adults, right? Adult.
For a safe
Family.
Singles, couples, people with pets.
Right, not children, but a safe haven for, yes,
Supportive.
adults.
I'm sorry, I got confused. We used to refer to single adult families.
Yeah, that's.
That's what you usually say, adult families. So
Yeah.
and pets, singles, adults,
And pets.
and couples.
And pets.
We were told that it was a pet-friendly shelter.
That is correct.
Because,
Okay,
you know what, okay, we can get into the details of 105 tonight. We'll do it, we have a long, still have a long agenda. So
Homeless.
Tammy has made a proposal about a resolution. You've heard the details. I am going to ask us to vote on it.
Yes, and you're throwing in that we want a copy of the RFP.
And we're throwing in that we would like a copy of the RFP.
Yep.
Yes.
Thank you. So I
All of the-
second your motion to vote.
To write it, is this to write a resolution or to approve the
To
resolution?
approve it.
Well, we're gonna write a resolution that was
Right.
stated as per Tammy's.
It's gonna be
comment.
super simple.
Right?
And then we're gonna vote on it at full board, this like,
No.
And then we vote on it in full.
as in like next week?
Yes. Okay, all of those in favor of our resolution, please raise your hands.
If you're on the committee and you're a voting member.
Comments, you're getting who it is. Brendan, are you on our committee?
So you're not voting, yes.
You wanna just do it
Oh,
backwards?
yeah, let's do it backwards. Who's, any opposed?
Any opposed, abstain, recuse?
Abstain, Thompson abstains.
Did you vote?
No,
Oh, and
We didn't do public members yet.
member. In favor?
Is there anybody
They're online.
online who's a member of the
I
committee?
don't.
Andrea, Eric,
Isn't it, no, she's not, and Eric is not.
no, Andrea, not raised her hand. Okay,
Nobody
All
online.
right, so you got it.
motion passes. It's simple, just.
All right, I want to thank you.
Thank you for coming.
Yeah, I know it's a tough room, but thank you. And we will see in touch.
And thank you, everybody,
To Phoebe's helping you make it to the next.
Yeah.
Thank you for coming.
Thank
We
you.
appreciate it. Come out for other. Check our agenda every month, okay?
Stay for the seat, please.
All right, we try to move this along, so please, no discussion, at the door. Thank you, good night. All right, we're moving.
All right.
Thank you, no discussion.
Let's move down. I think we can say, come on down.
Please keep it on the agenda.
Yeah, no, thank you.
You have
Thank you all,
I
you do.
respect what you do.
So
Thank
thank
you.
you.
All right, moving along. Please.
I know.
I was just teasing.
I know you were.
Then can I submit? No, it's another.
No, well, no.
No.
Stand here.
Yes, I don't know.
Thank you, Don.
Can we sit there?
You can go anywhere you want.
Exit as quickly as possible. Thank you. Thank you, thank you.
Mitch, did you look over the PowerPoint?
Yes. Yes. Not
Mitch, this is your topic.
I know, but now, I was telling, it's anticlimactic now, but
I
based on
know,
like,
I know.
you know, I wish we weren't following that because that's so much more.
All the
How are you guys?
I'm seeing if I should make it to my next meeting.
Thank you so much. But we're gonna move ahead.
Okay, yeah, go for it.
Hi, members of the representatives from the fleet, would you please introduce yourselves?
Of course.
I'm just stretching.
Oh.
I knew the board, the council
Yes,
members speak first.
I'm
I'm sorry. I'm sorry.
The flea theater is great.
Thank you, council member. Hello, my name is Dr. Lauren Britt Elmore. I am the new executive director of the Flea Theater.
And hello, everyone. I'm Nigel Smith. I'm the executive artistic director at the Flea Theater.
Hello. We came here tonight to follow up on a conversation that we observed and we watched the video. Thank you for making it public.
Oh, great.
And on the conversation that began in November. And so I created this presentation in response to conversations that I've had with my team, conversations with community, and with after watching the video, and just wanted to lay out the goals we had for a very brief presentation. Our first goal is to basically introduce ourselves as the new Flea, introduce ourselves to Community Board 1. We want to present data on patio use. I know that was a big topic of conversation during the last meeting on how it was actually being used. We want to clarify how we are going to mandate how the patio is used moving forward, and hopefully through this help begin to build trust through transparent and consistent communication, which Nigel will go into is part of our mission and our values.
Thank you. Thank you. I just want to personally thank you all for the work you do to uplift the concerns of the community and help us to be better partners with our neighbors and with you all. So as some of you may know, the Flea Theater has been in Community Board 1 for over 27 years. It was founded on 41 White Street and has always been committed to downtown experimental theater, dance, music, what have you, on the live stage that New Yorkers can think of and perform. The Flea moved into a purpose-built 3-theater building on 20 Thomas Street in 2017. And we, as a team, like excitedly say, in 2021, we were able to refound our organization to be in step with a mission and core values. That mission, as you'll see, is that we support and invest in experimental art by Black, brown, and queer artists. We provide them with space, financial support, producing partnership, and other resources so that they can share their vision in community with audiences. We are guided by a set of core values that we read this mission and our values at the beginning of every event that we do. We are human-centered. We practice anti-racism and anti-oppression, collaboration, sustainability, transparency, and innovation. Thank you. So I want to actually, in my role as artistic director, I'm chiefly responsible for the programming of our spaces. So I want to just walk you through the 3 spaces, how we use them, and with a particular emphasis on the patio. So our upstairs theater is the SAM. It's a 120-seat black box. It can be reconfigured to an artist's dream of any configuration of the seats. Downstairs in the basement, we have the Siggy. It is a 46-seat raised stage. And on our ground floor, we have the Pete. And the Pete is a theater that has a patio. It's a white box. It can accommodate up to 70 audience members and moves indoor, outdoor. So the way that we use the Pete is the way that we use any of the other 2 spaces, except there is a patio attached to it that can be used in the programming. So the Flea produces original works. We actually produce them in partnership with the artist as a lead co-producer with us. So again, these performances look like performance art, they look like dance, they look like live theater. Sometimes they're immersive, sometimes the audience is just sitting and observing something happening. We also support resident companies who present their own work but are more deeply supported by the organization through marketing and cash grants. We also rent our space. A big part of our operation is actually serving a lot of the small itinerant companies or independent producers who have an idea or passion that they want to bring to New York stages, but they're not yet at the place where they can have their own facility or afford a more expensive facility. We're actually quite proud that we're able to offer a discount to not-for-profit companies in our space. We also rent for meetings. We do our own meetings in there, rehearsals. We're really proud. Every year when the graduations start to occur, because there's a number of preschools in our neighborhood, we as a team are very excited to have them in the building. And there's a big, beautiful banner that Erica got from one of the schools that's hanging in the office. We also do pre and post-show gatherings for performances in the Pete. We do a number of fundraisers in there. The 501c3 not-for-profit earned income and contributed income is a major part of our sustainability, and the Pete allows us to meet those goals. And finally, we use this space for board dinners. It's a place where the board can bring their guests, and we can have a wonderful evening with them to keep them involved. So that's how we use the 3 spaces, and I'm going to turn it back over to Lauren.
Thank you, Nigel. Sorry, every time I did that when we practice, I always feel like a newscaster. Thank you. Next. So again, to reiterate, in watching the conversation that happened a couple months ago, we know that the way that the patio was used was a topic of discussion. Again, before we talk about the statistics, I want to reiterate the fact that we are a new flea, that we were refounded in 2021, and that and with that, our new mission and our new values has changed the way that we operate. So these facts and these statistics reflect what we are now. So based on the conversations that were had, we went back and looked at every single rental from 2023, every single rental, every single use of the Pete. And because no one can use the patio without using the Pete space, so just so that we're all on the same page, that's the name of the space. No one can use the patio separate from the Pete. That's what I'm going to refer to it as. So we looked at everyone who rented the Pete. They have to indicate in their rented or use the Pete, whether it's an internal or external organization. They indicate if they're going to use the patio and for what reason. And so we went through every single group that used it, and if they used it for outdoor space. 18 days the patio was used in 2023. The average number of people across those 18 days, those 18 events, was 35. I want to clarify that is 35. The average amount of people was inside and outside. So the average amount of people who were expected to come, we averaged that out over the 18 spaces. Also, I noticed in the conversations that there were questions around days of use and months of use. So as you can see on this slide, we can make copies available for whomever needs them. We broke it down by the days of the week and the months of the year. So as you can see, 50% of those 18 days happened on weekend nights, Friday and Saturday. With the remaining 9 happening across the other 5 days of the week. And then also you will see that 11 out of 18 days happened only in 2 months of the year. And 6 of those months had no patio use whatsoever. So that is for 2023. And so we just wanted to get all on the same page in terms of how it was actually used. And again, this is an accurate reflection of who the flea is now. Moving on, we wanted to clarify, because again, I'm responding to the conversation that had before, so we can build and move forward. I wanted to be crystal.
Background of what the conflict is. I'm listening to this and it's great, but I just don't understand the back.
Well, let's finish the presentation.
Okay.
Yeah, thank you. So I wanted to be crystal clear on what the flea is committing to, not only with our use of the space, but with anyone who wants to use the space, and that is again the Pete and the patio. We commit to making sure that there is no use of amplified sound on the patio without prior notification of Community Board 1. We commit to making sure that no one is using the patio later than 10 p.m. and we have mechanisms in place to ensure that happens. And we also commit to a monthly submission of a list of all scheduled activities, either in the patio or just the patio, whatever this committee prefers. With all of these, with 1 and 3, I ask for your support and guidance in helping the fleet, making sure that we communicate in the most efficient and expedient way possible to whomever we need to communicate with. So I'm just asking for that. And so this is our commitment. This is what will be in all of our rental contracts. This is what we will abide by to. Finally, I was not the executive director last time you met with the FLE. There was no executive director. There is now. And it is my job, as Nigel has spearheaded this company in a brilliant fashion, both operationally and artistically for 2+ years. It is my job now to make sure that we are operationally being the best possible neighbors to Community Board 1. That's my job. And so if you have questions, if you have concerns, if something is happening, please, my email address is in the presentation. Feel free to use it. And so thank you very much for your time.
Thank you. Okay, so Mitch, state what the problem
Well,
was.
they're right next to, the new location before they were on White Street. And myself, Pat, and when it was a geographic committee, welcomed the Flea Theater with open arms to this location. And after a few years, the previous administration, there's a big residential building right next door. There's an alley in between in the back of their theater and the residential building. And all of a sudden they started using, when I say they, I don't mean these people, they started using it for rehearsals, events, everything. Instead of, we welcomes you, you have a theater. Do everything that you want in the theater, not having rehearsals and having events outside, right next to the residential building. And
This is 104 Duane, is that?
No, this is 20 Thomas.
right, but it's 105 Duane Street is the building that's
Oh,
adjacent.
I'm sorry.
Yeah, so, and the thing is,
Well, just state the problem.
so I just want to say one thing. It bothers me to have to say these things because I'm probably one of the most people that support you guys' mission because of my personal work. So, but I want to be able to sleep when I come home from work. So the first thing is, when we had the meeting a few months ago, we're going to go to point 1. And so you weren't executive director then, so not directly personally to you, but when you guys first came here, the people, they committed to no use of amplified sound in the patio at all.
Okay, so we've got that.
That was 100%, I remember. And now,
We're gonna work on that.
now it was no use of amplified sound without prior authorization.
Yeah, okay.
So like I said, I don't direct this to you, but that's not being honest in the discussion.
Mitch, do you understand that they live in close proximity?
Oh, yes, I
And
understand,
that,
yeah.
you understand that sound
The way
travels?
that the soundtrack, I
Yes.
heard the story, I think you told the story of how you were hearing a lot of noise and you went downstairs and you didn't hear it, and that's why there was no notice, yeah.
Right.
But you guys know
Okay.
that, you're
And
professional.
Mitch is a professional musician, and
Yep.
so he works at night and he comes home and he wants to be able
Well,
to
I
sleep.
work different,
As-
not just at
as
night.
to everyone who lives in close proximity to the theater. So again, last time it was stated that there would be no amplified sound on the patio. So can we get that instead of without prior notification, can we get no amplified sound on the patio at all?
I don't remember, I remember saying that would get brought back to the team,
That
but
is-
I don't think, I mean, Erica and
It was us.
Keontae were here, and they're not in any position.
I think I should jump in here,
Mhm.
because it's my role that looks out for the programming there. And so the reason why we're making this proposal of being able to come to you and notify you is that artists come to us with all kinds of projects. And oftentimes those projects, as you know, as a musician, involve how are we going to reach our audience or pull them into
why you have
immerse them in
beautiful
the moment. Yes, we have a beautiful theater that has this patio component to it that was designed based off of artist input. So one of the things that's unique about the Flea is it wasn't a bunch of producers that said,
Mhm.
hey, let's just make a theater. It was
Mhm.
a group of artists who said, what kind of spaces do we want to be able to make in New York? And a space that has an indoor-outdoor component is something we see nowhere in the off-Broadway space. And so artists being able to come and
Can I
make,
interrupt you as an artist myself?
yeah.
Is that, that's all well and good,
Yeah.
and we all wanna
Is it
express
same as
ourselves,
Rooftop Cafe?
but it's a residential community, and the noise is not, you're not being a good neighbor by amplifying noise on, how big is this patio? What's the square footage?
I do not know the square footage. Eric, do you know?
Erica,
That-
should we find
If I had to guess, it's two.
It's
Yeah,
about half this room?
yes.
That is not true. The patio.
Oh,
outside-
it's a
Yes, this room.
So,
No,
okay,
no,
so
not
it's
even
the size of
close.
this room.
Yeah.
It's like not even close.
Is it bigger or?
It's not much bigger than this
That is
room.
not true. That is not true.
Okay, all right,
I'm
let's not-
sorry. That's like at least
Can
five
we
times
look it
bigger
up?
than this room.
It's 5 times
They
bigger.
could, they could fit 70 to 100 people there. I live.
Whoa, no, we can't put 7,200 people in our building.
Over
right?
that.
70 to 100.
That, not 70 to 100. Not-
You said
What-
70 to
Our-
100.
I live, I've been
Our,
seeing
our
this.
fire guard
I retract the
certificate,
comment. I retract. the
I can
question.
tell you what our
Okay,
fire guard
50 to
certificate,
70.
Yes.
yes, our fire
What's-
guard certificate
Says
says 76 is the best.
So he's
Okay,
70 to
but-
100.
For the
But that's the
Inside and
combined
outside.
space.
inside and
That's
outside,
combined.
yes,
Okay,
yes.
let me ask you, what kind of
Inside and
programming do you
I gotta believe my
foresee?
eyes.
Please, what kind of programming do you foresee using the patio space for?
I want to answer that, but I also want to respond to what you asked, which is about us being a good neighbor and understanding that the sound climbs up, which we are now incredibly aware of because of the conversation that had at this committee. And that's what we're proposing to be very respectful about that. And for the committee to be able to say, hey, this isn't working for us, let's have a conversation. What we imagine seeing back there is moments where a piece of art, like a dance moment, could move through the space and back out. There are these beautiful glass windows, so sometimes the audience can sit inside and the performance can move outside and back inside with them. Yes, we do see moments where, you know, the board is having a dinner inside and then they go outside and, you know, talk with their guest for a little while. The reason why we are proposing that maybe there are times when there could be an amplified sound out there is maybe a singer serenades people before they go inside to have.
This is what I want. This is right outside my window.
Mitch, what year was that?
This was a couple of months ago when you had a fundraising event.
That was one of the 18 days.
Yes.
Okay.
Okay, hold on.
But I just wanted to give that like
I see you, Miriam.
an example and then and that was not even with a lot of people.
All right, we gotta move this on. Listen, Miriam, go ahead.
So the presentation, which I thought was very good, by the way,
Thank
is
you.
using the word notification, and
Mhm.
Mitch used the word authorization,
Yeah.
which implies like permission. And I think for the community, if it's gonna be used, it needs to be some sort of middle ground. Like you can't necessarily just notify, as in tell the board, we're doing this today. And that might not be a good day for the community. Let's say it's the 4th grade math exams, right? Statewide exams, and you notified today, we're doing this. That's not gonna be well received.
Mm.
But, you know, if there's a way where you're not necessarily asking permission, but there's room for negotiation, a better word, and we need a new.
Conversation and collaboration.
Okay, what's also the other thing is maybe we could work it out. Number one, limit the amount of events, and number two, limit the time.
Pat, can I ask you, Pammy, one thing? If this was the rooftop, the outdoor rooftop thing, you guys always require on the license committee, no amplified sound on the rooftop. This is the same thing, except it's not on the roof.
Okay, we're trying to negotiate, so let's negotiate. So, as I was saying, maybe we can limit it to, first of all, I'm really not sure I understand why, if it's a performance space, why the music and amplification can be inside. And so we dance outside with music that's coming from inside, and we go back inside, and we never have any of the music or the equipment outside.
The blinds and stuff.
That's what made the noise. They got stuff.
But anyway,
It's like extra.
so I'm still trying to find out why we need to amplify outside.
Because the outside, when sound is played inside, it doesn't carry to the outside. These are triple pane glass separations. And so if the work of art is on the patio itself, that's where the sound needs to be supported.
And it's not, and I can also say that it's not always music. I know that people are having in their minds like a type of thing. Again, experimental art is exactly that. It could be a person with a just spoken word. Like,
Okay, that would also require amplified sound?
sometimes,
But
yeah.
even, that's true. There's been a lot of things have nothing to do with music, but they were having, like I said, the previous administration was having full-fledged theater
Okay,
rehearsals
hold on a second.
with,
Because, you know, talking can be
with 40,
just
50 people
as
outside.
loud and annoying
Mhm.
as.
That's why
beautiful piece of
that's
music.
why all talking will cease at 10 PM. Like all talking outside will
Let
cease
me-
at 10 PM.
Just hold
I guess my
on, Jared.
question is, because, that doesn't seem totally unreasonable to me. What about tapping amplification at a much earlier time?
That's what I'm saying.
Yeah,
It's
that
like-
sounds,
That
I
sounds
can-
reasonable.
You give me, let me come with, our curtains are typically between 7 and 8 PM. When we start, if this is a traditional performance. So I can go to an artist or a renter and say, hey, you can only amplify your sound in those first, hour of the performance. That's something as artistic director I
We're
can
saying
lay
8
down.
o'clock.
Or if it's an earlier.
Are we saying 8 o'clock?
I would say,
Till 9,
Nine.
if we have a show that starts at 8.
But they have shows that hopefully they'll be successful. They'll be having shows every
Ask me a
night.
question, just answer my
But
question.
this is what we're agreeing to.
8,
We're saying,
9,
I think 9 is
We
reasonable.
spoke about not having any amplification.
okay, but we're backing off of this position. So answer the question. 8, 9, would that work for you?
9 PM and we're not, again, the speakers aren't aimed up. We're actually trying to aim them
Still
toward the
have that
people.
effect Regardless of where they.
But
Yeah,
Would
yeah.
It's also
9
in,
o'clock work for you, Mitch?
No,
I just want to throw it out there. It's also within like the noise ordinance numbers because
Yeah.
most.
An outdoor space.
No, I get that, but it's still a noise ordinance, and also we should talk about days too, because what they pointed out that this was on Friday, Saturday, which is like, I think the noise ordinance
I mean, if
goes
you have a
like 10,
bar
11.
next to you.
Yeah.
You
So
have the
that's
same
what I'm asking.
And if you had a rooftop next to it, you guys would be no.
Well, look at Serafina. Serafina, they're
They
open.
would let it be open to a
No,
certain
the thing
time.
is, when I hear the things that go on the license committee and some of the other committees,
Mhm.
and I'm always saying,
But this, forget the license.
I'm advocating they could do whatever they want inside as an artist.
Right.
And it's like, it's almost the opposite of how you guys act
Okay,
on all
but
these
I'm
other rooftop
asking,
cafes.
so 8 or 9 o'clock would not work for you?
Not exactly, because first of all, the months, there haven't been anything in the cold months, okay?
Right.
Yeah.
So
Six of
those,
those
the numbers, you can,
Okay,
make
hold on a
averages.
second. So if we said 8 or 9 o'clock, you're not having any performances outside in the winter months, correct?
Traditionally, no, so far, no.
So you would have them, which months? You would start
Spring, summer,
like
fall.
like March?
I mean, are you asking us to mandate that they happen in certain months, or you're asking
I'm
when they
asking,
happen?
like when it might happen.
Well, yeah, I mean, if we're using 2023, again, the majority, 11 out of 18 of those happened in September and October. I would also state that I think the 7 dates was one event. And as you can see, the rest of them were spread out very sporadically through the spring and summer.
Okay, so now if we could limit the amount of events that happen outside, and if we could limit and cut off time when the noise or that we're asking to negotiate.
Yeah, that would be better.
Limiting the number of events sounds challenging to me.
Well,
That
happens
what they're
outside.
doing.
There's still.
No. They have a beautiful, they have three.
I understand they have a theater inside.
Which I support.
I understand, but
Because not
they
every-
described other types of art.
Not
So,
every
Given that description, I think limiting the amount of time sounds restrictive, but that limiting the hours is fair. And we can look at it as any other outdoor entertainment that we view, similar to like an outdoor cafe or whatever. And we can look at it like that.
You limit the amount of events on so many of these venues that come in here.
Yeah, because those are proposing a particular type of event every day, and they're saying, but we also want to be able to do these other types.
certain number of years. This is their normal scope of business. So it's a
Yes.
different case, it's a
No,
different
The
scenario.
normal scope of business is the theater, the thing, the.
The normal scope of business, both their spaces.
Yeah.
Not just one
They're also
space.
renting out for other.
Can you
other
call them maybe?
events.
No, but we're saying limit the type of events that happen outside.
Yes, that's what I'm saying, yes.
Okay,
And I think.
and limit the time.
Right, Mariano, I thought was coming from an.
I am coming from a different place
Opposite, yeah.
because what I heard was that this is part of their normal business, is to use both of their spaces, right?
But not
And
every
so
event
to
is
say you can only use one of your spaces a few times a year, I think is maybe unfair, but I think is fair to discuss the time of day that they use it.
But I'm saying that not every, and I guess I'm asking, yeah, I'm saying. Does every event that happens in, what's the name, the Pete?
The Pete, yep,
Does every
you got
event
it.
that happened in the Pete also have an outside component?
Not every, no, not, that's true. Again,
that is
only
true.
18,
So,
yeah, only 18, and we use the Pete way more than 18 days. But only of those uses, only 18 of them use the outdoor space in all of 2023.
In
so
all
I
of
didn't think that they
In all
all
of
involved,
2023.
all involve the outside. What I was trying to say is, I'm like, they have them, like you said, they were sporadic throughout the year.
Mhm.
So if she had a bunch during 1 month, October, whatever it was. So she has a bunch in October and then she wastes them all. Now she can't have one in the spring.
Yeah.
But that's part of their normal
Yeah.
business. That's what
Thank
I'm
you.
trying to say.
Thank
That
you.
doesn't make sense to me.
I see your point. Thank you, thank you.
Can we call them maybe?
That's the outdoor space.
Programming.
Excuse
How far out is your programming? Like, do you know what events, how far out?
Yeah, I
do
can
you
take that.
book?
So yes, our programming, we know, we are a rental house. And so as people come to us and our space is available, we welcome them in. So it's not we could know something in 6 months, we could know something
Jared, I
in
see.
3 weeks.
Mamie, go ahead.
So, you watched the video?
Excuse me?
You watched the video?
Yes, I did.
From last time?
Yes, we both did.
So you know that we understand that there's a, serving of alcohol happening at the events? Is that correct? You serve alcohol at the events?
We have been able to actually, yes. So there's been opportunities with our board to be able to actually give them the glass of wine.
Yeah. Even if it's bring your own, you have to have a liquor license for it. Usually these conversations happen during the liquor license application process in the licensing committee.
But only if it's a full license. These are event licenses, which don't come to us.
Oh, really?
Yeah, and if you're not selling it, you can use a donation ticket
only does
instead,
wine.
right? You can use it. So that no money's being exchanged, you give a ticket and you don't need any of that.
Yeah,
But there are
they say that to
24-hour
me.
licenses for the day.
Yeah.
If you're having an event as well.
So they get a.
So
Yes.
but when they're renting, it should.
If it's a renter, they have to,
If it's
What
another
happens
party, a
is
third party,
if
then they
you
should be
sell-
required to
Yeah,
not
that-
only get a liquor license for 24 hours,
Yeah.
but also security that they have to
And we,
post to the city to
Right.
let them know, okay, I'm gonna have all
So
of this
you
in
need a
place.
rider.
for
and
my
we
event,
have that,
then
and we
let-
have that in our rental contract, that
If
if you
the
are
police
serving theater.
Is so successful that they have a lot of these types of applications.
Yeah.
With liquor licenses. let's
Then
just
they're
say
gonna
one a
flag
week,
us.
Then the SLA will flag them and tell them, you must have the
Get
liquor
a liquor
license
license.
because you are permitting.
Yeah.
Okay.
All right, so we're okay.
Yeah, yeah.
Jared,
So for the month, of September, we had 7 events that you said was sort of part of one extended production run or whatever they've been. What was it, out of curiosity?
that was our work performance art series. It was really fabulous.
Darren, you gotta watch the video.
The video is of the. I don't know what time. What was this meeting?
It was in November.
It was in
and
November.
They talked about it, but go ahead, I'm sorry, I'm just joking.
The opening, what the video was the launch of that party. And so the launch had a special board moment ahead of going inside and watching these fabulous queens turn it out. It was performance art, it was a little video art, and it was a little bit of dancing.
And that was the only time that, that amplified sound was used in 2023.
That I could see being quite great if it was a week long.
But that was the only time that
That
amplified
happened
sound.
once. And, yes.
If it happens once, no problem, twice, no problem, a few times. The thing is, only because I lived through the previous, and we're trying to nip it in the bud, where it was.
You mean, yeah, you mentioned the term nip it in the bud quite often in the last meeting in
Yes.
November. And I was actually confused, and so I'm really glad I get the opportunity to ask you directly. Do you mean stop it completely? Do you mean do what Pat is trying to do, which is come to a
Well,
sort of
yeah,
a
they
common
were having
ground?
rehearsals all the time,
Mhm.
like 4, 5, 6 days a week.
Yeah.
Going, like, it could be going in the afternoon, night, or like past midnight.
And I can hear your trauma around that, so
The
I
thing
just
is,
wanna.
You know, and this is what I do for a living, so I'm, like I said, a supporter, but,
I understand.
you know, like I said, we welcomed you, you have beautiful theaters.
Thank you.
And I'm not gonna rehearse my band outside of somebody's apartment, I'm gonna go into the rehearsal studio. You know, having something sometimes, but, you know, the thing is, as you get more successful, you're gonna have more events, because like Jean Grio, who used to support them and wrote a letter saying, until you stop having those events outside, I'm not gonna support you, because she lives across the street from us. And that you guys, they've been fundraising, they're trying to get this off the ground, so there's not that many events happening right now. But they were happening all the time, and most of the time, there wasn't music involved, it was like the theater rehearsals with upwards of 50.
So I'm just gonna ask, I wanna say for the record,
Yes.
this is all for the record, I hear you, I heard you very much, I heard how annoying, frustrating, disrespected you felt with the old flea. I heard a lot of that. One of the reasons why I created this presentation was to emphasize that this is a new
I'm happy
flea.
about that.
Awesome. Can I interrupt at that
Yes,
point?
yes.
What plans can the new flea guarantee to, and then to address the concerns, and then come back to us in December of this year, or November this year, again, when it's too cold, so you're not outside, but to get through the spring, summer, and fall, and then touch base with us again.
Say that, I'm sorry, so repeat your recommendation one more time for me, please?
Come back in November, or December, and what guide rails can you guarantee to be on? I can't really say that we don't wanna approve all your terraces.
Okay.
That's not where we wanna go. What we
Okay.
want is for you to say, you know what, we won't be blasting speakers outside. And if they have a liquor license, we will tell them that they can't be outside past a certain hour.
Well,
It's
what
one
we're
thing to have
committing
somebody
to.
go, hey, Pat, let's have a quiet conversation out on the terrace, and, hey, baby, let's take that bottle and go outside.
Yeah. So what we can commit to is what we put in slide 6.
Okay.
So, and again, when you.
Can I make an
No
addendum?
amplified sound,
Can I
period.
make an
out there.
addendum?
Yeah.
They're proposing that they have.
Well, what I
the
heard as a
notification.
possible, place where we can come together is no amplified sound after 9 PM, period.
I'd say that
You-
9 might be a bit loud and you got little kids
Yeah,
going to school in the neighborhood. Amplified sound is always an issue.
there's a lot of families that live in the building.
Question, how about no amplified sound past 9 PM on Friday? I'm sorry, Friday, like, you could be outside Friday, Saturday, maybe even Thursday, Friday, Saturday till 9 PM, but Monday through Sunday, you can't.
Sunday through Thursday.
Whatever the day.
We're putting amplified sound just as a general thing, I mean, it could be like, you know, like just somebody speaking on it, like just, or somebody playing on with volume 1, or it could be like they're having an event.
This is
and
all,
they-
what she's proposing is all encompassing about,
I'm
so we get that you're
I'm
talking.
encompassing, I'm
but
saying
yeah.
For that levels.
anything.
Yeah.
Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday.
Or it has to stop at like 7.
With amplified sound, and if you're gonna, you know, and I think that you
Also
may
within
come back
reason,
to us and
like the
say,
volume.
and if you do stuff outside
That's what I'm talking about.
where it's just talking, I think that will be disruptive too, but maybe it won't be, I don't know.
Good
But
idea.
we can
Well,
amplify
Well,
sound.
let her
Let me
answer
say-
that. Can
Can
you
you
agree
commit?
to that?
Can we agree to no amplified sound Monday through
Sunday to Thursday.
Sunday through Thursday night? I don't know.
All right, we're
We have
saying
to
come
work
back
with them.
also.
Yeah.
Say, take these proposals, think about them and come back.
We're because what we're doing is, and we understand that we don't want to be disruptive to the people who live here, but now who lives here as a theater, is a performance space. And we want to honor as much as
The
we.
performance space never included the outdoor patio
Right.
for
Right.
performance and noise.
When we,
Decide, do what you want.
when we welcomed you and when it was the geographic committee, we
He has
welcomed
his hand
you.
up behind you.
Just the theater, that alley was just like a store, like was not being used for any type of
Right.
performance. And under those conditions, and this had nothing to do with you guys.
That's why
we,
the complaint started, because it hadn't been used for.
for a bunch of years, and then.
Before 2017, before we moved in,
Yeah.
because we built the space, like it's built
It was-
out.
it-
to
it
be
was
patio.
used because it was.
I don't want to go on about the past. I'm just telling you
Okay.
where we are with liquor licenses and how we work, because
Years
that
before the
has to have
pandemic,
relevance.
That's when it started.
Jared,
No, I mean, my personal 2 cents is that, I think the end result has to be something that balances these different interests.
Yeah.
And, there are plenty of rooftop bars with amplification around the city, and some of that comes with living in a noisy, crowded urban environment. And so, yes, you and your neighbors deserve, quality and quality of life and peaceful enjoyment of your home. But earlier than a certain point in the evening, there's got to be a balance to strike.
Is 9 o'clock an appropriate balance?
Okay, so.
hold on.
Is 9 o'clock?
Hold on. Mitch, I'd like Mariama to respond
Okay.
based on licensing.
And Francis.
And Francis.
Okay.
Thank you, Francis. Because we have rules that we
Friday, Saturday,
do
and Sunday.
in the neighborhood with liquor licenses.
Well,
Like
yeah,
Sunday
that's
we
why I
stop at 10
suggested looking at it maybe more like a sidewalk cafe or something.
Right.
I see I get your point about the rooftop, but it is at street level, so it is more like a sidewalk cafe or another event space of that
And they do
nature.
have open.
And we
space.
would allow those places to remain open and for people to be talking or making whatever kind of noise they're making until like 10 o'clock.
10 o'clock is.
And that's what we are, that's
And I
that's
think-
been our rule the whole time.
If they're willing to do 9, I would.
Take
my
that, yeah,
vote would
9
be
is-
for 9, not just some days, but every day, because they just said they don't even start their work until 8.
8 or 7 or 8, yeah.
Boys. Maybe. They don't even do it. every
And you're
time.
not doing it every night of the week, and you're not doing it every week of the month, or every night of the month.
At 6:30.
But if they had 18 of these events last
18
year,
nights, yeah,
it's 365 days in a year.
yeah.
So we're letting them go till 9 every day, and then
But
18
they had
days
18
out of
events
the.
where they went on all night, right?
Well,
No, we would never go on all night.
So
Yeah, but it
18
went
events,
like-
they went on until what time?
Till 10,
10, 11.
till 10.
So now, so you're willing to cut it back to 9?
Well, we're willing to cut amplified sound till 9.
And then you'll be out, but then you really,
But we will, we
Go
can
inside
maintain,
at 10.
we can maintain
Make
the
it dark
ending at
after
10
10.
PM.
Yes.
That's what we've always
And
done.
can you?
And also I also don't want to decrease this, that you mentioned the way that you framed it was like, you don't want us to come back here a year from now.
No,
We
no,
do
no,
want-
no.
No, you do want us to come back a year from now, but what I meant to say was, we are willing to report to you every month what's happening.
I don't,
Yeah,
We
we
don't care.
We don't need that.
the best,
The best thing is silence.
You can tell the neighbors, you can figure out a way of posting so
these
that the
people-
neighbors. Because what I always say is,
I want to say
people are going to be pissed off when
Yeah.
there's noise and things that interrupt the quality of life.
Yeah.
But if they have notification,
Yeah.
they know it's going to happen, they're a little less pissed off
Yeah.
than they are.
Okay, so we'll come up with a plan with our neighbors.
I want to say, Erica, right?
Yeah.
The one event that they had a little while ago, she actually did email me. And I just read, and in fact, I forwarded it to you. I replied politely, thank you for the notification. Once in a while, no problem.
Yeah.
Like I said, the nip in the butt thing was, it was a constant thing of, a couple of years before the pandemic. It stopped because of the pandemic. And just for the record, Lucian had been in touch with
Right.
the previous people, and they were totally non-responsive. So.
Okay,
So
so
this
we
is
have.
very different.
Yeah.
So what,
Yeah.
I have a question on this, Pat, when I said number 2,
No.
or number 3, the best form of communication they said without prior notification, that was in one of that
Okay,
PowerPoints.
so now
And so just to clarify that.
it's with notification.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, I'm so sorry. That is a typo.
Okay.
No amplified with.
No,
Oh, no use. Oh, I just did a double negative. Okay, okay.
Right,
I
the
did a
number
double
3.
negative.
And then the year-round thing, like I said, because they're not gonna be using it like.
Exactly. 6 months out of the year, we didn't use it
It's
at all.
again, like Miriam said, it's like an outside.
It's an outside
sidewalk.
cafe.
So do we agree then, mostly what this comes down to, are we in agreement that you will not have amplified sound after 9 p.m. and then in hopes that the patio actually closes by 10?
Not even in hopes and expectation.
Is that okay with everybody?
And the amplified sound is not gonna be like a.
We're trying to negotiate for this.
We are, but.
Yeah,
we
but
also
we're
gotta
trying
move on.
to negotiate
Yeah,
for
the space only holds 76 people, so it won't, we can't blast it that loud.
Now,
It's not the same.
amount-
the other thing is that you will send notification, and we
Yes.
shall start with Mitch, and then you'll get other emails, and you'll, and
Is there a board to
Jean.
send it to for your building or anything?
Yeah, if there's no
It doesn't-
contact.
Because we would love to invite.
Do you have a?
Yeah.
board downstairs that
It's
you
the
put it up there?
the building doesn't have,
You have a laundry room?
Yeah.
They-
Bulletin
Okay,
board.
don't worry.
Yeah.
They-
Work that out
they
later.
don't allow that in my
9 o'clock.
building.
Listen to me.
Yeah.
So.
So not a co-op.
We're saying you will stop amplification at 9.
Yes.
You will remove people from patios by 10.
Yes.
You will notify Mitch and Jean and anybody else who gets on your email.
If they, and feel free to share my email with, if anyone is complaining, feel free to say, oh, contact this person, she'll make sure you get the notifications.
So you have been talking about like limiting the, like, putting in like a number in as far as the events and stuff like that, because it's not 100% the way it's with.
Okay, but you know
But,
what,
you know,
I
let's
think
not do
that,
that
they're sa-
unless-
I think what they're saying is that part of their business model is that they have rentals and they don't know when they're gonna have.
Oh, that's the same thing that the restaurants come in when they say we might have buyouts, but, and you guys say, well, how many buyouts are you gonna have? And they say,
Because that's
we don't know.
No, but, and we
Performing
limit
arts.
them, we said it.
I'm asking for the same thing, Francis.
Performance arts.
Yeah, but it's
Mitch,
not the
because
same.
Restaurants, normal business is to be a restaurant per day, not to be an event, like a party venue.
Yeah.
So when they're changing it up and switching to a party venue, we want to know about those, and we want to only allow them to do that a certain number of times per year. But this is their normal business.
And it's not every day.
No, in our space.
In their space.
In our space.
And it's
The reason
not,
why I'm so, like I said, when you ask about living in New York, I mean, I'm from the Bronx, so I grew up with noise all around, so that's not the problem. When we welcome them, this was not the
We know-
business model.
It doesn't make a difference, we're beyond.
So
that.
there's a change
Okay,
of.
but they can't give us, they don't know. And I don't think we can limit them to how many buyouts. I
At
think
least- That's different than what you were saying.
It's not a buyout.
you can get notification.
Yeah.
And if you have problems, you either come back to the community board or you try and negotiate with them. If there are too many events that are making too much noise, then you're gonna have to limit the type of events that you.
Really,
you're gonna
right,
have to
with
feedback
feedback.
away.
We're gonna have to work together.
Eric, with that,
Yep.
One thing that I'd like to see added to it, unless there's an objection, is I don't think the community board, or this committee requires or needs, notification.
Okay.
Yeah, no, we don't need to know. They need
I'll,
to know.
I'll
We don't
transfer
need
it
to
to
know.
the neighbors.
Neighbors, yeah.
I think if it's going to be beyond a certain number of events in a month, or beyond a certain number of events in succession, I think that's where it would be helpful for us to get a heads up here.
And the other thing is the main nights that, that really people need to get the.
Yeah,
is
Sunday to
yeah,
Thursday.
Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, but the weekend, okay,
So does
you
the
stop
board
it-
want, and so are you saying the opposite of what they
No.
did?
No, he's not.
Oh.
He's
You know
saying
what I'm saying?
this.
It's
Oh,
September,
no.
what, seven,
Yeah.
seventh month of September?
Yeah.
If you're north of 10, I think it might be more.
They did 18 total.
I think, honestly, I think honestly, sorry. I think honestly, what we're asking is that if you're gonna have another work the week or whatever it's called, just email Zach or somebody, and then we can include it in the newsletter, and then it goes out to everybody, so then they know it's about being 7 days.
We need.
Okay, all right. I just throw it out there.
We put things in the newsletter to invite the.
You guys so much.
I don't think so.
Companies and other things.
Almost 9 o'clock, we gotta get on.
Yeah, okay.
I think we have an
I don't think we need a
agreement.
resolution.
I
We'd
think
also-
we expect that you're going to follow through with the agreement,
Yes.
so I don't think we need to have a reso. I don't
Okay.
think we need to see you again, so I don't commission you.
We'd also like to say for the record that we welcome the community board to hold a meeting in our SAM space, which can hold over more than 100 people. If we can work that out somehow, we'd love to have you.
We can work that out.
Say we used to travel.
We can work that out.
Thank you.
Thank you all.
Thank you.
Okay. Thank you so much.
Not the patio, not the
I- Mitch, if you're not happy, if something happens.
gotta let us know.
It's different than what we had spoken about.
Wait, is it that
Pat,
time?
No, it's not time yet.
Pat, Pat, I thought you were gonna limit like to the amount of times, that's not what you had to.
Now, listen to what everybody is saying. And I'm
You know, we're
listening to
not
what they're
limiting
saying.
the number.
Come back and tell us if there's an issue.
Yeah, if,
All
you
right.
gotta tell us what time.
Lauren and.
Thank you.
Who's
Now you-
putting on the verbiage too?
Lauren's not
Yeah, I
here
see that.
today, but Charlene and I will.
Okay. Hi, Laura, sorry. Sorry. Let's get on.
AEL's easiest president, like.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you. Good night.
How many
we had
people
many
left
people
online?
This time, they went left.
Right, Anna.
People left online, let's move to the next agenda topic.
Oh, yeah?
Please
Got
Welcome,
people online.
come in and to the table.
Ali and
Should jump on in.
Ramesses.
This is online.
You're
Let's go.
Yes.
It's Zach's.
Oh,
You've got it.
Now.
thank you, yeah. Hi, everyone. My name is Xiaoming Zhao, Outreach Coordinator from DDC. So we are here today with Richard Peterson from Pharmacy, Ali. From our team, we also have some members online as well. Thank you for your patience.
No, thank you.
The other way around.
Yeah.
So this is our usual bi-monthly meeting with the committee to give you the update on the jail dismantle project. I know that Marjay will come separately, maybe around February, to give you a presentation on the program. And we will also host a report back workshop in early February on the Manhattan Design Guideline. So that is a separate. But today's presentation will focus on the dismantle updates.
Okay.
Next. This is the today's agenda. We will share what we have heard so far. Ali will talk about community engagement and resource, dismantle update. We will also, Richard will also talk about dismantle project updates, and then we will open to questions. Next. This is what we heard so far. We have a request on the updates on the dismantle milestones. We got a request for environmental monitoring updates and questions about air quality. We also got updates on the Y Street crane. And then last one, people want to know updates about the Manhattan Design Guidelines.
Yes and no.
Yes. Next.
Okay, so I'll talk a little bit about the community engagement that we've been doing and some resources that we offer. Next. So as you all know, we've done a public workshop on the November 29th to discuss the design guidelines and how we can incorporate more community feedback into the design guidelines. We also did a feedback intake in Chinese language. This was done by request of a specific community organization because they said that Chinese speaker population were not able to voice their opinion during the November 29th meeting that we had. So we did a separate meeting only with Chinese speaking community groups to collect their feedback as well. And we also had online consultation from November 30th to December 22nd. We were able to collect 240 community inputs, and they were about several topics. I'm not gonna go through all of them. As Xiaoming said, we're gonna have another report back session, but some of the main topics were building access, community engagement, interior design, building materials, MWBE inclusion, security, neighborhood context, White Street Arcade, and many others. And this is just to give an overview of our plans of what are we doing next. So we've done a workshop on the 29th, on November 29th. We also had online engagement, and the next step would be to do a report back session. This will be an online meeting happening on February 6th. We're going to start outreach probably tomorrow. And the goal of this the February 6th meeting will be to share how the community input was incorporated into the design guidelines. And we'll share more details soon. And on February, we will also incorporate the community inputs into the design guidelines, which will be posted on the website, and we'll also incorporate the updated design guidelines into the RFP. Next slide. And this is just a reminder that we have a dedicated CCL. She's in the field every day. She's available by email, by phone, for any questions that you have. And we are also still sending weekly look ahead, 72 hours advisories. And we are also updating all the materials into our website. And now, Rich.
Okay. So quick update on some of our milestones and schedules to date. The South Tower sidewalk shed has been erected and is completed. That was done, it's cut off there, but done this past summer. The North Tower scaffold and screen was installed and is now being removed from the structure currently. The phasing from phase 1 to phase 2, where we shift our fence lines around the South Tower and the previous Sally Port, is completed. The interim Sally Port has been handed over to the DOC for their operations and is completed. The South Tower scaffolding and screen cover is ongoing as we speak, with an anticipated completion towards the end of March. North Tower dismantlement is ongoing through the end of February. The North Tower crane is being taken down this upcoming weekend. South Tower dismantlement will begin February through the end of this year. And the White Street crane will be coming end of February, possibly early March, for the dismantlement of the South Tower, with a substantial completion at the end of this year.
Which one is it that people complain about? The
The
crane?
White Street.
The North Tower crane is the one that has been being complained about,
And
and that is coming down this weekend.
Okay, thank you.
But it'll go up in a
We
different
get in
location.
August.
Different crane, different
Oh,
location,
And then it'll move to White Street.
different crane
I mean,
on White Street.
Yeah.
It'll be a different configuration type crane, you know, looks like a crane, but if you know cranes, it's a different crane.
so when it says substantial completion, end of 2024, that means the demolition will be substantially
Correct.
completed.
Traversy's portion of the work that we are under contract for will be completed.
And we don't have a design yet, right? To go forward?
Not my.
I know it's not. you. No, at this point.
So this was the first phase that is wrapping up and was just transferred over to phase 2. So this configuration where you have the, you know, the bump out around this, the newly constructed Sally Port, and the insert, the walk around into the bale pavement has been transferred. Next slide. We are now into phase 2, where the Sally Port has been handed over. You can see the bridge in front of the Sally Port on the Center Street side, and at Baxter, the fence now incorporates the South Tower and the previous Sally Port.
So the Sally Port's being used.
The new Sally Port is in operation. Here are some pictures of the ongoing operation. On your left is the DOC buses utilizing the new Sally Port. In the center, you can see the current elevation of the North Tower and the scaffold being erected on the South Tower. And on the right is the crane that is being removed from the site this upcoming weekend. Rodent and pest control, status quo. We've had no complaints. We've been doing our ongoing monthly monitoring, and knock on wood, we haven't had any rodent issues.
Do they have, people have a number to call and?
RCCO, yes. Environmental monitoring plan, everybody here is familiar with it at this point. The air, sound, and noise monitors as indicated on the plan there. I don't know if you want me to go through how they work. I think we've gone through that enough times. Next slide. Dust mitigation, we've talked about that. We've increased our water spraying on the White Street areas as requested. We have the monsoons. Obviously during icing conditions, we have to reduce it, just to maintain safety on the site.
How does that work? Just called out.
So we minimize the amount we use it. We use it only, just enough to be necessary. We don't over flood. And the excavators usually can scratch the ground up to break up any ice that accumulates. Noise.
You did the wheels as before the trucks leave the space?
Yes, we have a rubble strip, as you exit to shake off anything before they leave the site. Noise mitigation, the sound barriers that were utilized, we've talked about those. They're incorporated on the North Tower, scaffolding system. South Tower scaffold system will have them as well. Communications about our environmental monitoring, the website that the DDC posts, our reportings and our reporting, is listed there.
What's the latest month?
That's coming up.
Okay, thank you.
So here are our reports for November and December. Air quality monitors have had no hits over the 10 PM 10s. So there has been no dust concentration above the action levels on the site. Noise monitoring, there were 4 alerts generated by construction activity. Once they went off, we alerted our crews as to what they were doing and changed their methods. Some of it was related to loading trucks and some of it was related to mechanics had a stuck pin and they were hitting it with a sledgehammer to release that pin, and that sound happened to be right next to the monitor, and it triggered it. So, once they got the pin out, that noise ceased to continue. The rest of the triggers, there were 27 of them, are due to operating procedures outside of Gramercy's operations. It was the holiday week. It was 4th of July, not 4th of July, my goodness, New Year's, and it's DOC operations on Center Street that aren't part of our. They took over that new space and. That's their operations. Asbestos air monitoring has had no releases into the atmosphere, so there's been no asbestos leaving our site. And I'll hand it back for you guys to go over the emergency response protocol.
So.
Mary, I'm gonna ask a question.
To it.
Yeah, question about,
Go ahead.
so you said there was gonna be a different crane. I remember previously, the other crane, the problem that the community had with it was the way that it followed the direction that it was in. And because you or whomever gave that presentation said that because of the specific type of crane it
That was the
had
test.
to be that way.
Correct.
So does the new crane mean that is no longer necessary? And
Greatly reduced. The new crane has the ability to park itself in a 360 direction. We're able to put it in the direction that works best for where it's located. This crane will transverse from the east side of the site to the west side of the site on White Street. So at different phases of the dismantlement, it might be on the east side, it might be on the west side. But we're always able to, most of the time, point it into our site. This way it doesn't have to be over Baxter or over Center. I do leave it as most of the time because there might be a site logistical situation where it will need to park as the crane previously had parked, but it will be greatly reduced due to the
Just to
different type of crane.
clarify, so when you say it can traverse from the east to the west, do you mean the crane actually moves or it swings?
It has tracks and this crane will track across to the west or east side based on operations. Not a daily operating tracking, it takes me a day or two to track it to the other side, so it'll be no, it is a ground mounted, it's like excavator tracks, track mounted.
I had a question for you in your part also. When you talked about the other stages and different separate conversations and meetings that we'd be having, and then you also talked about design changes. So one of the separate meetings that we've been trying to have, not maybe with your part of it, but with the criminal justice side, is this meeting with regard to the increased capacity of the jail. And I was wondering if any of the design changes that you were talking about were so that that could be facilitated, so that it could be increased. Are any of those design changes attached to the increase in capacity, like with the change this so that we can fit more bodies in?
I believe the mock J will come in February to talk more about the changes in policy. In terms of the design, we still don't have a design, so we are not adapting a design that to anything. If you go back to the timeline that we had, we are still pre-design phase. And after we have an.
I remember that specifically with regard to the South Tower. Is that for both? There's no design on?
Yes, for both.
Okay.
So-
we have a design builder on board, we are gonna do community engagement to collect input and.
Okay, so I must have misunderstood something
Yeah,
you
so
said
there
there, I'm
will
sorry.
be a serious community engagement after facility design build get NTP.
So I need to ask more specifically, because at the design meeting that told, God bless you, by the way. We were told that there would be a public meeting in the fall, which there was. Public open comment through November, and then one follow-up meeting. As I put in email, and I will reiterate my concerns, you don't design a house, I don't care if it's the outside or however it is, until you know how many bedrooms you're building for. So yes, we appreciate that MOCJ will come and present to us, but we need to understand that has to come before the next design conversation, because what concerns me in the layout of what we were told is that in the beginning of February, the design, potentially when we have no meeting, the next design guidelines follow-up would be. And sometime in November, February, MOCJ would come. So if you go by that argument, you're presenting to a public environment what the outside of a building could possibly look like, but we don't know how many bedrooms are needed in that house. We don't know where, like, is it a 45-story building? Is it a 60-story building? Is it a 90-story building? I understand you're limited by legislation, but the community was on record forever saying, we don't want a building that's bigger than the one we've got now. Yes, we want it contextual to the neighborhood, but you don't know if you can build it to what set of height, density, and bulk to even have a design conversation until you figure out what's going on with the bed counts, which according to the controller's report is not where the mayor wants it to be. So I would really love to hear, and if you can give us this information at the design hearing. This is what we understand from MOCJ, which is why we're looking at this kind of a conversation. That's great. But if there isn't that part of the dialogue, then just reporting back what you've heard from the community without being able to be responsive for what can be done seems like a check the box, not actually progress in a line. And we were not told that there will be further design check-ins once MOCJ came with a final number. We were told that basically, we'll report back what we've heard about designs, and then nothing. And we've heard no updates to when the next NAC, CAB, CAC, I'm using all those three, and that is because everybody uses a different one depending on what is happening. There's been no updates in the smaller group
Hey,
either.
Tammy. Hi.
Yes, that's
NAC
Robin.
Yeah, hi. The NAC meeting schedule's on me, and it will be in the second half of February. Just let me say one thing about the design guidelines presentation, and please, other people who are closer to the project than I am, jump in. But the design guidelines workshop collected and the subsequent online input collected a lot of information, not all of which was heard at the design guidelines meeting. And I think it would be good for anybody in the community who's interested to come and hear what the output was from those sessions, the one that we were all at in Chinatown, and the Chinese language session and the online comment section. So that's, anybody else from the team want to jump in, please do.
I have a question before you continue with this design issue. Is there still a conversation about the possibility of not closing Rikers? You there, Robin?
Not that I'm aware of, and that's really a Mock J question, but the plan is to go forward with the borough-based jails because Rikers is to be closed.
So all I'm gonna put it out there is with the mayor's wrangling that has been said about budget and everything else, where we're cutting this, we're cutting that, I'm not really quite sure how the contract with destruction and demolition is done and processed and I assume budgeted, but how on earth we're budgeting for
A design.
construction, even design could be budgeted for perhaps, but there's no way that the city has the billions of dollars that are now needed with the increased bed count and everything. So I just would love to have a very productive dialogue with the people from, or here. Sorry, not for the gentleman who's doing the deconstruction, but when we're looking at design and build and MOCJ and the CAB or NAC, is to make sure that it actually flows in a process so that the community can be very clearly understood. Even if you're giving just feedback, you don't understand. If someone said, I really like blue shutters, but you can't put blue shutters on a building that's 45 stories tall because you now need 2,000 more people to be housed there, it really doesn't seem productive to not have MOCJ come first and then understand how that will work with the community feedback on the design guidelines. And then have all of that presented at the NAC-CAB. So you are having the larger and the smaller, but with all the information. Without that, it's,
You gotta know what you're designing to.
That's-
Just to clarify something, the design guidelines is not the design of the building, it's just guidelines or principles that we wanna achieve with the building. So we are not talking about the materials or anything like this, it's broader.
Yeah, but.
And we have Nina online as well.
Yeah, maybe I can help. I mean, the design guidelines, I think we're gonna have a session to review, and these are just some of the requirements and some of the things that the design builders need to take into consideration. But we do not have a design team on board yet. We are sending out the RFP, I think towards the end of February. And then there's a whole procurement period where they'll compete for the project. We'll start seeing, some of their ideas, but that's even only a concept. It doesn't get to actual design until we give the design builder a notice to proceed, when we tell the architect with the builder to go ahead and now really start the design, which is when you'll really come back to the community with whether the wall is red or how tall it is and the way the windows look and how the building looks. So that's a way yeah, there's actually an architect on board.
It's two different. Are you finished with your presentation, Rich?
There's no other questions, yes.
I have one question about the demolition.
Sure.
We'll come back to that. When you're done at the end of 2024, will you have also done soil sampling and any kind of survey work for the next part? Or you just take it down and sweep?
By.
We are, the only soil sampling we have to perform on our contract is after remove the storage tank. Other than that, we are leaving foundations in place.
And then fill it up, right? You're getting.
They're bermed, yes,
Bring it to grade.
correct.
Hi, sorry, if I could just jump in. This is Mary from MOCJ. I just wanted to confirm what Robin said. The mayor stated that we're going to be following the law and we're going to, so the BBJ the projects are moving forward. Now, how it's moving forward, the mayor's made very clear that he wants to be able to protect the safety of all New Yorkers. And he is working with the new Littman Commission that has been reconvened to discuss how Rikers will be closed. So he's working with the Littman Commission to discuss what the appropriate way, because of COVID, a lot of the timelines were pushed out. So we may not be able to make the 2027 deadline on all of the jails, but we have yet to determine exactly what the timeline is. And on the bed count, that would not be the MOCJ mostly we can discuss at a future presentation our decarceration efforts and the program and the policy that we work on to contribute to closing Rikers. I'm not sure that the bed count would be appropriate to MOCJ, however. That might be another agency, but I do know that a presentation will be forthcoming on that.
Can I ask a question, Pat, on this topic of the Lippman Commission that's come up?
Who's talking?
That's Alice.
This is Alice. I had my
Alice, hold
hand
on.
raised for a little while.
Alice, hang on.
Oh,
Just
okay.
follow up to the last point that was had, whenever, whoever does make the decision on bed counts should come to the same meeting that MOCJ is. We want to have a full picture, not drops in a bucket at different times of day. Alice, your turn.
Thanks. And hi, everybody. So Mary, I don't think I've met you, but thank you for that. I liked hearing about the Lippman Commission. As you might be aware, this board had requested that this board or this community and all the other communities in which there'll be a borough-based jail have a seat on the Lippman Commission. And we see that that did not happen, that I think around 21 new members were appointed, alas, not any that are from the community. I think it would be extremely helpful to both sides of the equation, in other words, the side building and the side receiving, to be part of the Lippman Commission in some way. In other words, whether the meetings can be posted, recorded, and allow for some sort of transparency about what's taking place. Because of course, the Lippman Commission is the reason we have the borough-based jail plans, and Judge Lippman himself did not see these plans as being 100% what he had in mind for the smaller and fairer and more just jails. And I just wonder, now that this has been resurrected and relaunched, you know, I think the communities would all like to know what is different this time and what will change. And I think that's the meeting that we keep asking for, that would have all the information about the new criminal justice landscape in this relaunch. And I don't know if that's the meeting that's the February 6th, but I think that would be a really helpful time to begin to have this conversation. So is that something that could happen where we can have a little of interaction with the Lippman Commission and know what their thoughts are on the current and revised borough-based jail plans? And specifically whether there will always be only for borough-based jails, will there ever be a fifth as was originally intended? Will the scale change? What criminal justice aspects have changed that will change what this building may or may not become? Those kinds of questions really need to be answered. I think in many ways we're all continuing to state that. And I just would like to get some specificity as to whether we can engage with the commission or at least reports on what the commission is doing some point this winter.
So that's something that we can, I mean, it would not, that obviously is out of my hands. That's, you know, that our executive staff would be a part of those conversations. So that's something that I can, like I said, like run up the flagpole as you say it, but like, that's not something that I can certainly speak about at this point, because we don't know what is open for the community to provide their feedback. But I will ask, and then we'll figure out, we'll find out what the format is of these meetings, if they're being recorded, and we can provide that to you at the next meeting.
Great, thank you.
Well, the next meeting, which would happen at the end of this month then, or
Yeah.
if you could get that information without a meeting, there's something that you could actually just write as an email is fine to the board. That works too. So thanks.
Sure, we can do that, yeah.
There it is. Sarah,
Hi. Yes, hi, thanks, Pat, and everybody. So I have a question. When there's an RFQ that's supposed to be out, is the RFQ out yet? And I understand you're going to shortlist 3 design build contractors based on the RFQ. Has that come out yet? Hello?
Yeah, sorry. I don't know. Does somebody want to answer or you want me to answer? The RFQ, sorry, the RFQ has come out, and there have been companies that have submitted, and the city's evaluating it.
Okay, which are there's supposed to be 3, right? What are the 3? Can you name them?
I can't, it's all under procurement. I don't know myself there, it's under procurement.
Okay, we would like to know that. And when you have the 3 shortlisted, can the community see and who these people are, who these contractors are, when you have that decided? Because those three are gonna eventually bid on the RFP, right?
That's, yeah, we've assumed so. So, I mean, we can take that under advisement and talk to the city about that.
Okay, it's important. When they bid on the RFP, those three bid on the RFP, that's when we'll really see a design, correct? Because each one of them is gonna have to propose some sort of a design. That's the first time that, a design will actually be rendered, right? And so at that point, it's really important for the community to be able to see that. And so I'd like to make that request. Can the community see those designs from those three shortlisted design build contractors?
We'll get back to you on that. I have to, again, talk to, I don't know that anybody from the city's on tonight, but we'll have to come back to you on that.
It's really important. And then
I think Lauren is Lauren, are you on?
Oh, I didn't see, okay, her.
I think that she wants.
Lauren was sick, so I don't know.
Yeah, she sent me a message. She raised her hand, so I think if you could move her over.
All right, go ahead, Miriam. Are designs what the RFP calls for? Is it?
RFQ?
Yeah, they're just concepts and ideas. They're not a final design. It'll just be a.
So the RFP says we're looking for companies to send us concepts? I just want to understand like, what you've asked these corporations to bid on.
The RFQs.
Yeah.
RFQ, yeah. I don't think the RFP is out
The
yet.
RFQ has actually there's no design in the RFQ. It's based on their that's based on their qualifications.
What's an RFQ?
Wanna, chime in?
Request
Qualification.
Right.
Any more questions?
Yeah, no, so the, Pat, yeah, sorry, I just wanted to follow through. So once, the community has also made a request that they want to be a part of the selection of the final design build contractor. And what is the status of that request? Does anybody, can Lauren or Nina or?
Hey, everybody, this is Lauren. Sorry, I can't be with you tonight. I'm a little under the weather. So that request was made, yes, and that is currently under review by City Hall. And as soon as they have a response, they'll be getting back to you. But we understand the request was made.
Okay, and so at this point, you say you're in the pre-design phase. So when timeline wise, best case scenario, when do you think you'll actually find somebody to design build this project?
We expect NTP, that's notice to proceed. That's when the selected design build team will actually be under contract and starting the design process. We are looking at early 2025 for that. And as soon as we have a more concrete date, we'll be coming back to the community and let you know.
Okay. Feel better, Lauren. You sound terrible.
Thanks.
Yeah, feel better.
Yeah. I'm sorry, Pat, just in terms of the demolition, Rich mentioned that there were no rodent complaints. I do understand that from people who are in the courthouse and working in the courthouse, there have been increased amounts of rodents and pests. I'm not sure if that's directly linked to your construction. I imagine it might be, but if you checked with the people who occupy the courthouse, you might find that there are issues with that. So,
Okay, yeah, they haven't said that to me, so I will look into it.
okay, thanks. I have no other questions right now.
Okay.
Thanks, Pat.
You're welcome. All right, no more questions? No, nothing
I have one
else?
more question, Pat. I just want to know, is the South Tower still operative? Or in other words, are people still in the South Tower and using it?
No,
It's empty?
Or no?
the South Tower is empty.
Thanks.
Yeah.
Where did they go?
So there's no usage of any kind in the South Tower?
No, we are occupying it as part of the preparation for dismantlement.
You're occupying inside.
We're in the South Tower doing work, prepping for dismantlement.
All right, any other questions? Anything else you need to share with us?
Was there more of a presentation?
Is that the end of the presentation?
I think you said questions.
Yeah.
That's the next slide.
All right, so we'll ask, we'll come back in month after next, but it's for January, February, March.
Pat-
March.
Pat, there's some people, I think, from the public.
What?
There's people from the public that want to have questions.
They need to raise their hand, so if you're online with us, you need to raise your hand.
Finley has a right hand.
Jan just
Jan.
raised his hand.
Dana also has a raised hand.
All right, so Jan, mute.
Go ahead, Jan.
All right, thank you very much. Some of the things were answered just recently, but I do have a question about the process. This is a DDC question. Are we going to expect that the South Tower is completely demolished to ground level before the soil and everything is excavated from the site? So there's two things. I think one thing that Gramercy said is that their contract ends at the ground level and that they're going to stop at that point where they reach ground level. It was my understanding and our understanding that actually the excavation includes removing the former foundation, backfilling it and paving it over ready for the next contractor. So this is a point of interest from the community. Are you going to wait until you take down the South Tower before you start digging a hole and removing the toxic stuff and then backfilling it with clean fill and then paving it over? So and another question is whether or not the utilities and everything are shut down from the South Tower. When is that going to happen, when everything gets disconnected from the rest of the courts? Because we understand that there's some infrastructure that's shared between them. And then finally, the financial process that Tammy mentioned about how to pay for this. Where are you in the process in the selling of municipal bonds to get this thing paid for? Because we would like to know where the city is in the funding process, because we don't want to be left with a big hole in the ground and there's no money left. So we have a right to know where you are in the process of procurement of the financial means to pay for this. That's it. Thank you.
Okay, Jan, let's take those one at a time. So the first question was about excavation. So I can say that the excavation work that needs to be done for the new facility will begin once under the new facility contract. Rich, can you speak to the extent of the work that you are doing under the Gramercy contract, please? And I think also I know back.
I can answer most of it, Lauren.
Thanks, Rich.
So under our contract, we are responsible to remove it down to foundation level, and then backfill the existing foundations. So the foundations remain intact. We don't expose any of the existing soils other than the areas where we remove the tank, where we do endpoint samples and backfill. With regards to the South Tower utilities, we are underway with undoing the connections between the two towers, between the courthouse tower and the South Tower. That is happening as we speak.
But let me just question you about the existing foundations that are there that are holding up the two buildings. You are not responsible for removing that concrete and out of the ground. Is that clear?
That is correct. That concrete remains under the Gramercy contract.
So the vacuum that is left after you take away the two buildings, that it does not get backfilled by you. That's covered over with what? What is covering?
There is a backfill plan under our contract. This way that the site is secured, safe, and there is no quote unquote vacuum as you're describing it.
Right. So you're bringing in clean fill. Our concern is that according to the boring samples that CB1 has helped us to a FOIL request, we understand that some of that soil is toxic. Some of it has some gasoline and other things that you won't know that until you open up the ground. And that's a concern of ours because we want to know how that's going to be transported out of the community, what communities are going to be exposed to that, who's going to be enforcing whether or not this transportation of these toxic soils are going to be done correctly. That is all part of your contract, or that's another contractor that's coming in to remove all of the stuff, the soils and things?
No, we are not excavating the site under our contract.
Okay, so just backfilling that vacuum that I spoke about earlier to make it safe.
That is correct.
Okay. And then I had a other couple of questions about funding. So if somebody could answer where you are in the process about financial procurement, that would be very important for us to hear.
So Jan, I know you were asking a lot of questions about the funding and the municipal bonds, et cetera. Apologies, I'm not an expert in those mechanisms, and I think that's something we would have our colleagues at OMB help address. So why don't we earmark that one as a question that I know there's a lot of things we're talking about, potentially discussing at the next NAC meeting. Can we have this one be a question that we get back to you on?
Yeah, of course. And I
Okay.
think the rest of the
Thanks,
city
Jan.
would like to know. I think the rest of the city would like to know as well. So thank you. I'm sure your contractors want to know whether or not they're going to get paid before they fulfill their RFP as well. So I think it's in everyone's interest to know how this is going to be moving forward from a financial standpoint, because that needs to be very transparent in how they sell these bonds to pay for this. But thank you for the indulgence.
Thanks, Jared. Anybody else online? Jared?
Yeah, just a practical question. So during the deconstruction period, and then this indeterminate period of time while we're waiting for a new design, a new building, the individuals who would have been housed in these facilities previously, where are they now? Rikers for an indeterminate period of time.
They're at Rikers until they close Rikers and move everyone into the individual borough-based jail.
So they can't close Rikers
So they-
yeah.
Right. So, thank you, everyone. Thank you.
Pat, can we get clarity? I'm sorry, Pat, can we get clarity of what exactly so the February 6th meeting is the next meeting? I'm not sure I understand. There's a NAC meeting and then there's a February 6th meeting. Is that the same meeting? Can we just get a
No.
sense of precisely when the meetings are?
The
and what they are?
NAC meeting will be later in February. I will let Lauren describe the February 6th meeting. If you would, Lauren.
Sure. The February 6th meeting hours is our, sorry, someone's rustling papers, it's a little loud, is our opportunity to report back to the community about all the feedback we heard on the design guidelines. That's going to be an open public meeting. It will be virtual, but we will share the Zoom link. As Ali was saying earlier, we confirmed that there wasn't any conflicts with the community board or any other groups on that date today. So we can start advertising and doing outreach for that tomorrow.
Thanks,
They're
Lauren.
separate meetings, yeah.
Okay, and so then when is the meeting, which you did promise at the last meeting, the design guidelines, that we would have this meeting to discuss the justice landscape and specifically the Littman Commission, what I just talked about? When will that happen? In other words, how this affects the plans?
Yeah, that's what
Oh,
Robin's
there'll be
talking about. That's going to be held as.
Okay, so,
as a NAC
but
meeting.
the February 6th and the second half of February, some point meeting, those two meetings are not the meetings that we would hear some of this information, or they might be where we could
No,
add that into
the February 6th is specifically going to be on the design guidelines feedback, and that's reporting back to you guys what we heard.
All right,
So
well,
wait, let me finish.
Yeah.
The later half of February meeting that Robin is referring to, that is the NAC meeting, but the topic of that NAC meeting, Robin, correct me if I'm wrong, that's going to be when Mokshay comes and gives you the presentation. And apologies that we couldn't do it tonight. There were just there were people who were out on leave right now, so we will be doing that later in February.
And I'll circle back.
Yeah, I think it makes a lot of sense to all parties involved if we make that second half of February meeting with Mokshay the meeting that we look at some of the justice issues, given that Mokshay is doing the meeting. And I think that would be really helpful to the community. And it is something that we've asked for and that you've agreed to provide to us. So I would love to point us to getting that on that second half of February meeting if possible, so it can be considered. We'd appreciate it.
I think that makes sense. In terms of the Littman Commission, that is something that City Hall, who was it? Was it Nina who spoke about that?
That was me, Mary from Mokshay.
Oh, Mary, yeah, I'm
Yeah.
sorry, Mary. Mary will take that back to see what what can be done in terms of talking about that, having people from the commission. I don't know. I don't know that Mary knows, but we hear you and we will get that back to the people who are closer to the work that they're doing.
Thank you.
Pat, it's Vera. I just wanted one comment in terms of the Littman Commission 2.0. We noted, the community's noted that there's a lack, Robin, of design professionals, engineers, architects, Mary. And so we don't understand, since this is essentially, this is a jail build plan, why there are no such individuals on the commission. And it would make sense to have such people on the commission and expertise to figure out how to expedite this plan, the borough-based jail plan. So that's comment and then points for consideration.
Okay.
Sure, I'll bring that back.
Thank you. All righty.
Pat, you're on a hell of a meeting. No, I'm kidding.
We still have 2 more items.
Ah,
Thank you, everyone.
thank you.
See you in 2
Take
months.
care, everybody.
Anything else, you come back and she'll send us notification.
Have a good night.
Yes, if you can do the notifications of the timing for the February meetings before our full board on Tuesday at a bare minimum, that would be great.
Yeah.
Because we want to be able to give people time to come, and weather and everything else is very difficult. Please provide a online as well as in-person version.
It's going to be, isn't February 6th meeting going to be virtual? It's going to be virtual. February 6th, yeah.
Please make sure there is no limit to the number of people and people don't get closed out.
Yeah. Thank you. Good night. Okay.
Bye.
Scott, are you here? Who's doing the Water Street? The last time he was online.
Yes,
He's here. Hi, Scott. Sorry again. We tried to go faster. How are you? You have to unmute.
He's unmuted.
Oh.
God. Can't hear you.
It's like,
Put his hand up.
Yeah,
Can't hear you.
you might have to go away and come back. Xanda. Can you call in, Scott?
you know what? While Scott's getting it ready,
Yeah,
we'll
let's
let
get
Sean roll.
Yeah.
We're not trying not to make you a new, I promise, come in. Scott can't find, figure out where he is, so we're good.
Sean, time to shine.
Sean.
Sorry.
That's all right. I had a whole entrance with Beyonce playing planned, but.
Okay.
Get you next time. I should pull out my phone today.
So we probably could just,
Any-
you could answer questions from last time.
Yeah, exactly. It just prepared some of the stuff we talked about last time. So the major thing that brought me here the first time was our renovation of One Pace Plaza East. As we discussed, a major internal renovation with hopefully much fewer external consequences than we faced with the construction of the new building at 15 Beekman. Those of you, I know I'm sure Mariama at Selfridge Towers and others in the community have seen the green construction fence be erected. As discussed, the easternmost fence is on the sidewalk of Gold Street, and we use Jersey barriers to create a new extended pedestrian walkway in the parking lane that was on the west side of Gold Street. And then following feedback from the community board, we were able to work with the Department of Transportation on Spruce Street to not take away the parking lane on the south side of Spruce. So we were able to work with them to maintain the parking lane on the south side of Spruce while still having the through lane for vehicles and the bike lane. So far, I heard from Adam at Southbridge Towers one day right before Christmas that we treat the Gold Street every day with salt in case of inclement weather. Adam reached out in the middle of the day to say, hey, looks like it's already starting to get a little frosty again. So we sent the folks out there immediately, retreated it. That's the only thing I've heard so far from folks. But by all means, give my cell phone number, give my name out in case there are any issues. We want to address them as quickly as possible. So that's all I have for One Pace Plaza East. I don't know if there are any. Yeah,
The parking issue.
yeah, oh, it's on the list. I just want to give people a chance, issue by issue, if there's anything else. No, we want to go? Great, love it. That's great. So I'll skip ahead. Parking issue, I connected with our Vice President of Operations and our Executive Director of Security and Safety. They said it's in no connection with us, but we've actually been working very closely with the First Precinct to supply them with our security camera footage about the issue, so we are on the same.
No parking on your plaza, your property, no, nothing to do with the restaurant.
If it's happening, we're mad about it too. So let us know and we will send all of our footage over to the First Precinct to do everything we can
Wait.
to
Are you talking about
Chop House.
Chop House.
The-
Right,
the legal parking for, like, parking on
luxury vehicles by the car?
Yeah.
I took pictures of that if you need them.
Love it. Send, yeah, send.
How long ago? It was like.
They've done it recently, so.
It was like not.
It looks like Pace put down some planters,
Right.
so it prohibits a lot of what they had been doing. But what I saw the other day was they had pulled two SUVs, like, very strategically in between, like, the trees. Yeah.
Yeah, they were nice SUVs.
By all means, if you can, send it to Tammy, send it to Zach.
I
they'll
have
send
a
it to me,
question. What
and-
time of night?
Send it to Sean.
When did
Well, I don't want, yeah, I don't, yes, absolutely.
So I have a question.
So we have a security contractor.
And so why aren't they going over to those cars and saying you're not allowed to?
Well,
Probably because they don't want those problems, which is why I'm saying send it to me. I want those problems.
Yeah.
Okay.
And
So-
previously, I mean, it's alleged, of course, but previously when I had called 311, they transferred it to the police. The police called me and said, you know, we've been over there. They claim to have an agreement with Pace's security guards.
They don't.
Yeah, about valet
That was
license.
right.
It was a deal, yeah.
Yeah. Tammy, Zach, everybody has my cell phone. Send it to me. We'll send it directly to the First Precinct and say, hey, don't try to say anything about us having, we do not.
Right,
Shut it
Okay,
down.
great.
It's clear that.
And Mimi will send you the picture she has.
Please.
Okay, so next,
Great, thank you. The other two items were arranging a tour for the community and the board of our new building in 15 Beekman. I'm talking to the architect. We're looking at maybe a Friday afternoon or late morning in February.
Okay.
If, we'll talk about it. Yeah, we'll figure it out. We can wait until it's warmer. I don't, like, you know, regardless, we will work around what works for you.
Sounds good. Okay.
And then the last thing is, all of our overnight lighting programming is in place. All the automatic dimmers are set. I haven't,
Jade's coming down.
Shade's coming down. I heard from one resident, I want to say in late November, early December, that the shades hadn't been used, you know, getting close to the time that we had agreed upon. The shades hadn't been brought down. I reached out to our maintenance folks. They immediately went out and took care of it. Outside of that, I haven't heard anything. I'm happy,
online?
I'm happy to be responsive to
Figure out
folks.
Christmas
every-
break, so.
Well, and we made sure that over the break that our staff was still gonna be there, bringing down the curtains and bringing down the lights, because we didn't want issues over the holidays. So, you know, again, I want to make sure everyone's got my number. If there are issues, we want to take care of them as quickly as possible. And, you know,
We love it.
great meeting tonight, guys. We really did it. All of us together.
I sent it to same to Sean.
Cool, thank you.
That's it?
That's all I got.
Okay, any questions? Thank you. Sorry you had to wait. so
That's all
long.
good.
Next time you come, we'll put you closer to the top of the.
Yeah, it's-
And you know what? I gotta say though, I'm sure you were interested to hear what's going on with the shelter, considering we're talking 15 Beekman for your.
No, you had all my friends. You had John from 140 Nassau, you had Scott from 140.
Wait, don't run out yet.
Of course.
Caller?
Yeah, somebody, 718-809.
Is it Scott?
First time, long time.
Go ahead, you're unmuted.
Hello, everybody. Pat, can you hear me?
Oh, Scott. Hold on one second, Scott. So
Finally, the technical difficulties are over. Happy New Year, everybody.
Sorry.
Can you hear me okay?
Yes.
Can you hear me?
Yeah.
You can hear me. Okay. All right, let me start with our work operations that are current. At the intersection of Water and Whitehall, we're continuing work on Con Edison's electrical ducts and manhole work. On Water Street between Broad to Hanover Square, we're continuing roadway excavation, backfilling, installation to relocate Con Edison's electrical duct system. On Water Street between Wall Street and Governor's Lane, we're continuing welding for Con Edison's 24-inch gas main installation. That 24-inch gas main installation was completed on Water Street between Wall and Pine. So now we're just tying in between Wall and Governor's Lane. About a month ago, we started demolition of the Quintus Slip Plaza to do the infrastructure work for all of the restoration of the plaza that's to come. So I just don't want to confuse anybody and have them think that we're going to actually start the above ground plaza work. No, this is all of the infrastructure work. So we'll be working on catch basins and a lot of Con Edison's and ECS facilities at that location. And just to mention, our 11th installment of our projects newsletter will be sent out shortly, hopefully by the end of the week. And that's all I have. If anybody has any questions or comments, please let me know.
Are you on time? Project still on time? Completion?
Yes, I mean, every couple of months it keeps on moving because of the extensive Con Edison work. But as of now, we're still slated to finish in summer of 2025. So we're still on that schedule as of now.
Great. So this last rainstorm and snow didn't interrupt anything?
Not too bad. I mean, usually Con Edison had, they have to pump out the water and the salt and all of that, but everything's been moving pretty well. The contractor is doing a good job, I have to say.
Great. Thank you, Scott, for waiting. And
no problem. Thank you.
Top of the agenda in 2 months, all right?
Yes,
I have
I
one
will see you
question,
in 2
Pat.
months.
Oh, somebody has a
Sure.
question?
I have a question, sorry, on Coente's slip. Hi, thanks.
Okay.
I just want to know, can you send us, or I've sort of lost track of the plans for the reconstruction of that plaza. I know, I'm not sure which committee we saw it, but we saw it many years ago, I guess. Is it possible to send those plans to the board again? Are they going to be represented, or is that a done deal?
No, I can send it. I can send it to you. I think you're talking about the renderings when we presented prior to the project, or like at the beginning.
Yeah, exactly. Are there any changes or revisions to those plaza plans, or is it the same as what we saw? I'm not sure when that was, but whenever
No,
that was.
it's the same as what you saw. If you like, I can resend it to you. Who should I send it to? Would you like
Send
me
it to
to
Zach.
CC anybody?
Yeah, you can
Okay.
send it to Zach and Tammy, and they'll forward it to me.
I'll send
Okay.
an email telling everyone to get it.
All right.
Oh, that's terrific. Thanks, Zach, and thanks, Pat. Thanks, Pat.
No problem.
Thank you, Scott. Anyone?
You're welcome, everybody. Have a great night.
You too. All right, guys.
Thank you.
Thank you for hanging in there. I appreciate it.
No problem.
Thank you, Scott. Take care. We'll see you in 2
You're
months.
welcome.
Month after next.
See you in 2 months.
Mitch,
Second.
I know you're not completely happy, but I think that we've negotiated, which was what I kept saying, let's negotiate. And you'll
It's a
come
lot
back.
different what you and Tammy had expressed last month. It's a lot different than,
Exchange. Can you